Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Podium Esports' coverage of the All-American Esports 400, live tonight from the virtual Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside of the booth tonight is Blake McCandless. Our producer Ryan Bauer is punching the buttons down in the virtual production show powered by Top Flight Computers. Thank you for tuning in, whether you're watching along on Facebook, iRacing Live, Twitch, or Twitter for tonight's coverage for the second of 3 nights for action-packed racing here at this historic speedway. Now tonight, a lot of critical moments for these drivers this evening. Not only are they racing on the main oval tonight here, Blake, they also, keep in mind, are about to go get ready for qualifying for tomorrow's main event for the 400-mile super late model race, Blake.
Exactly, Justin. There's a lot going on, and you have to keep that in the back of your mind. A lot of these drivers, they were out here last night. They were running on the quarter-mile track, and you got to see a lot of that race coverage last night. But now getting behind the wheel of these super late models and just having to kind of adjust to obviously running on a much bigger racetrack right now, one that since it's debuted on the iRacing service very recently is quickly become a favorite of a lot of oval racers, both short track stars and of course a lot of iRacers that love to run the NASCAR stuff as well. They all love this racetrack, and I think a lot of drivers are both excited. They were excited to run last night, and obviously they're excited to run on the 5/8 mile tonight.
And as drivers are cleared for one last set of practice laps before we begin solo qualifying, let's take a look at Jurgen Gorov to show where we're at tonight, the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, one of the newest circuits in all of iRacing in Nashville, Tennessee. In the heart of the city, 0.596 miles around this racetrack that is just under a full kilometer, that's been open since 1958. Includes 18 degrees of banking in the turns with 3 degrees down the straightaways today. In sim time at the moment, just prior to approximately 7 p.m. for these drivers. What's expected to be an entertaining one tonight. The way this will format for these drivers tonight on this main oval you've seen on your screen. 2 laps for drivers solo qualifying, single car qualifying. Drivers will be launched by race control per running order. Then the super trucks will race for 50 laps later this evening, while the pro late models will run for 150 laps as part of the main festivities for the All-American Esports 400, with the 250 lapper for the super late models tomorrow night. Now, that means one thing here. 2 laps to set your position for the main race tomorrow. Also, if you go and qualify outside the top 28, you have to go to the LCQ. A lot of pressure to put in a fast time.
Well, and it is, Justin, and again, with the way iRacing works, it's just like real life. We're going to go through track changes as qualifying progresses through. Obviously, the weather is going to be a part of things, as well as it's going to continue to shift along here. So everything that you would expect in real life, with the sun fading here off the exit or into the entrance, rather, at turn 1 behind the front stretch grandstands here, that's all going to come into play. So where you draw, all those things are starting to come into play right now. Even the practice laps that these drivers are putting down right now are putting down rubber in the groove that a lot of these drivers are going to be running in qualifying. So all that comes into play, and of course you get to look at your track temperature right there. 65 degrees is what it is ambient wise, and of course 69 on the track. So a pretty cool racetrack, a lot of speed for these guys.
Very, very cool track for these drivers today. About 15 seconds or so until we hit the track for solo qualifying. Many of the competitors competed yesterday on the little quarter-mile track around this facility in what was an up and down night. But many more drivers have made their way for the big event today. Super late model drivers from across not just the United States, but from Canada will be looking to punch their tickets to the main event tomorrow night. Checker flag now waves in practice as it's time to get ready to qualify for the super late models. Drivers about to get sorted for single car qualifying here, Blake. Now, first things first here, many of these drivers, they're expected to be competitive, to say the very least. They'll have the next hour plus for drivers to solo qualify here. One at a time they'll be called upon.
And this is something that for these sim racers, Justin, is so unique. We've seen a lot of drivers that were both involved here at the Nashville Fairgrounds in real life and in the virtual world as well. This is going to be interesting for the sim racers because obviously the way qualifying typically works in sim racing, everybody does it all at one time. You're not having to be singled out one by one, but this is where the realism comes in. We're going to see single cars go one by one, and it's going to start right now. Brandon Hughes rolling through 3 and 4.
He's your first qualifier of the night, driving the Highway 50 auto sales machine for Moneymakers Motorsports. He also drives for Hughes Motorsports in real life from French Lick, Indiana. For him in practice, he was in the 18-1s. That was towards the bottom of the board. Second lap this time, looking to pump it up higher. 18 flat. We'll see how the main lap comes this time.
We'll see how it comes. He ran an 18.113, was his fastest lap in practice. But of course, you're going to see both laps. Typically, I think what we'll expect, Justin, is these second laps are going to be faster. Oh, he had to check up there off of 4 as he nearly got in the wall. He does a little bit better, 17.933, and he'll go to the top of the boards because of it.
So he's your first qualifier. Again, how it works is, for some drivers, they will get that initial lap. You see, for example, that 49-second time. For Cam Davidson, they will have 2 laps on the pylon. First lap coming up now for Cam Davidson, who had a rough night last night. He crashes now in his qualifying run.
And he got a little bit low there in 3 and 4. He scraped the yellow line. I think he's going to continue, but there's some pretty significant damage on the right front of his machine. So he's going to have to, and actually he's just going to pull out of the server. He's going to do the equivalent of pulling off the racetrack. So Davidson, tumultuous night last night. We'll get another look at it here coming to his lap. He's able, or didn't see it right there, but this is him getting up to speed. You can see him bouncing off the apron. Not exactly what he wanted, but we'll get rolling. Actually, we'll see it this time.
Yeah, right there, collect the apron.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to put in a good time if he was able to put in that second time around. Instead, he's elected to go to the LCQ, it appears. For Dalton Collins, he had a strong night for the Bobby Dale Learner's Legacy eSports machine. Was in contention to win several times throughout the night. But now, looking to try and show what he can do in the super late model, a 17.658 to start qualifying.
And you see Davidson this time, he's going to go a little bit higher than what we saw Brandon Hughes that last time. There's a bit of a bump kind of through the middle of 1 and 2, and Collins doing a nice job of clicking that through, and man, he gets a great lap time as a result.
So Dalton Collins on his second lap, a 17.633 is your fastest so far out of 3 drivers that have hit the track so far in this one. The next driver on deck is Dylan Bates. Let's talk a little bit about Dylan Bates. Rear-wheel driver from Lebanon I-44 Speedway. This year competed in 4 events for the Fair Grove, Missouri-based driver. 2 top 5s in those events, 5 top 10s, looking to show what he can do tonight.
And I'll tell you what, Justin, you love it when you get to see these drivers not only race on here in iRacing that come from the real world, but using their real-life paint scheme as well and translating that over to iRacing. A lot cheaper to put the livery on here in iRacing, but Bates pretty high there through 1 and 2. He was almost running in the 3rd lane there, but gets it down low through 3 and 4. Looks really solid up on the board. 6.86, second quickest.
He was one of your fastest practice times, in fact. He was up inside the top 6. See how the second lap goes through 3 and 4. A little bit higher up, though, this time for the black, pink, and silver machine. Dylan Bates, second lap is a 17.7 as a result. That puts him provisionally P2 on the board so far. That brings up your next driver. It will be Dylan Sartain, who will roll it into the number 30 machine. We've seen a bit of him last night. He'll be showing what he can do now in the super late model, one of his bread and butter cars here tonight.
And we'll see what he's capable of doing here. And actually, Sartain going to take a little bit of a different approach here. You think of cars getting up to speed. He's going to take the low approach. Typically, you'd see somebody kind of run the high or the middle groove at 3 and 4, but he elects to run it low. Maybe just kind of using this first lap as a way to heat up the tires before trying to get to that second lap, which is often quicker.
Now looking like he's doing exactly that right now. Looking to pick up the speed now for the second lap. See the first lap with the tire coins, the 19.2, but that's the banker. How will the real world lap try and cycle through. This is for the actual count. Ford Sortain, Mid-South Club driver. Won some various series across iRacing. Driving with CPS on the car tonight. Coming out of turn 4, it's an 18.8. That didn't help, not even close.
No, well, and the one thing about Sartain is he was really conservative, kind of getting off the corner. It's almost like he was worried about hitting the outside wall because he was not really tracking out as much as I'm sure he would have liked to. But we'll see Josh Kosick. He was at the center of a lot of controversy last night, Justin.
Yeah, the Bobby Arnold's Legacy eSports machine had a very active night, to say the very least, especially the second half of the card. 17-7 to start off his laps now for qualifying, but at the same time has a lot of short track experience on the sim, also races in real life as well. He's pulling off. He's not happy with the second lap.
I guess he's able to do that. A 7.46 is what he put on his first lap, and I guess when you know that second lap just doesn't have what you're capable of, he makes the really tough turn on a pit road here, Justin. And of course, anybody who's been here at the Nashville Fairgrounds in real life knows that that cut down on a pit road, this is one of the most difficult pit roads to get on and carry a lot of speed to, perhaps anywhere.
That pulls him off the track. He had been the Isaac Memorial 50-lap limited late model race winner back in September. Now that brings up one of the real-world drivers from this facility. Oliver Cordell's now on the track. One of your top drivers in the Legends point standings. Runs a lot of sim races as well in this number 17 machine. He was very quick on the first day, and it's a 17.6 that's up on the board for him. His second lap around the track did not count, scraped the wall. That, in turn, will bring up the Rookie of the Year from 2017 from this facility, William Hale.
And William got a good look last night. He was in the control tower for a lot of the early portion of the quarter-mile races that we ran here at this facility last night. He did awfully well towards the back half of the night and was running up front. We'll have to see. We know he has a good amount of sim experience as well as real-life experience. I'd expect him to be one of the strong contenders tonight to run on pole.
We're taking part in some of the festivities for the Real World All-American 400 coming up next weekend. In fact, it's a 17.693 on the first time around. He's also competed in the Cars eSport Tour in recent months and shown good speed there at times. He's pulling off. He's happy with his time. It's currently P4. He hits the wall for good measure on the inside. That opens up the door for Trayden Lapcevich.
Well, and this is a driver, Justin, that we saw win just about every race on the docket last night. 3 out of 4 that we ran. Didn't matter what car was in, Lapcevich was quick. We know he has a lot of experience in iRacing. And so I know we were talking about Hale being somebody that could contend for the pole. Perhaps Lapcevich is the favorite to try and take that honor tonight.
Drives for Bobby Arnold's Legacy eSports, the Canadian driver. Brother of Caden Lapcevich, the former NASCAR Penske Series driver, and made his debut in stylish faction with a top 5 finish in one of his debut races this year. He's to the top of the pylon after his first qualifying lap, a 17.5. He had been your quickest in practice as well, and he's happy with that time as well.
Well, he certainly is, and we've seen drivers trying to move around this racetrack, whether they're running right on the bottom side, whether they're running that second groove. Trayden did such a good job there, particularly in 3 and 4, was able to run the bottom to keep up his momentum through the center of the corner. It was so impressive to see him do that. Again, he continues to be fast, regardless of the configuration of the track or the car that we run at. But also, here comes Zach Nichols. He's going to be awfully strong as well.
We're talking about this for Zach Nichols tonight, driving the R&B Car Company machine. Several drivers running with this sponsorship with preferred warranties incorporated on the car as well for No Chance Motorsports. The Stockbridge, Massachusetts-based driver was one of your top contenders in Road to Pro this season.
He was, and because of that, it'll be interesting to see how he does well here. He gets off a 4. It's going to be a 5.04, so he bests Trayden by 6/100ths of a second. Oh boy, that's the quickest lap we've seen tonight. It's the quickest to practice, of which Nichols was the fastest, and now he does even a couple thousandths, 5/1000ths of a second better than his fastest practice time, and he is going to be proud of that lap.
So that ends off his qualifying. The next driver is Craig Arvanites, now into the racetrack in the 43 machine. A lot of sim racing experience for Arvanites, driving for Arvo Racing Enterprises tonight in the number 43.
We'll see the run that he's able to get off the corner. Does a pretty nice job here, rolling through the middle. You see just the car, that paint scheme on the car, really, really nice. That with the backdrop of this facility, we'll see he works it through 3 and 4, drifting a bit high, but able to cut it down on exit. Oh, a little loose there. That may cost him some time.
That time at 18.126. Looking like he's going to try and go for another lap here in the STP Pontiac Grand Prix machine. Looking to drift up the track, wheeling this thing around off the corner. It's a 17.9. That's towards the bottom of the board. That is third slowest so far in session.
Well, he'll get about 0.2 quicker that time, but doesn't improve his position on the board. Gets into that 17-second bracket, though. And then here is Robert Duria, who had a very eventful going of things last night, Justin. He was in the middle of we had 17 cautions to end the night for our last race, and I think he was probably in about 8 of them, it seemed like. He just could not find any luck out there.
California club-based driver looking for redemption, and the redemption goes out the window to the inside wall. That may end up demolishing his run here, looking like he's going to try and put in a time at the very least. Robert Duria does not count with the incident point, so he'll have to come down another time here. Likely maybe one of your drivers in the LCQ from that hit.
Of course, it's worth explaining that in the iRacing service, of course, being virtual and not exact to sometimes how things may react in real life, it is awfully close, but sometimes you can scrape a wall, and maybe for a corner in iRacing, you could get away with some of that damage to improve your speed. So what iRacing does to combat that, if you make contact with the outside wall, it will disallow your qualifying lap. So Duria able to get one in on the second lap, but obviously with a lot of damage, isn't able to break the 17-second barrier.
One driver's looking to pay the bills. That's the name of the team for Jackson Lewis tonight from Elko, Minnesota. He's now on track in the number 7 machine. He's been quick on the short tracks on the sim in recent years. A 17.8 to start off his qualifying, but up the track.
Looking to take more of that second lane in 1 and 2, and it looks like he's able to get to the bottom really nicely here in 3 and 4. He gets the throttle down. I think he may actually improve here on this second go around. We'll see. Well, I was right, but only by a thousandth of a second.
So a 17.823 for Jackson Lewis bumps him up the pylon. The driver he gets to pass now is one with real-world racing experience. You see it there on the side of the racetrack. That is Glocker, who organized this whole grouping of drivers you see with these light colors on the backdrop. It's Jimmy Glockner on the track.
Well, and Jimmy actually had to check up there for a moment to avoid some of the traffic there, and he was able to get up to speed there without any issue. But now we see 2 cars on the track right in front of Gawker, who puts down his lap. You can see a couple of car links in front. You have somebody else on the racetrack. I'd have to say a bit of an interesting go here for Jimmy, having to avoid the traffic, and now he gets a little bit of a tow right in front of him.
Not sure what happened here. 2 cars on the track. This is Jaden Fritaki, who is one of your top real-world drivers as well. He was the JAG CRA All-Stars Tour Rookie of the Year award winner. Now he's on track in front of that air car, who is now pulled off the track. The 7 ends up recording a 17.8. That's mid-pack. The car behind him ends up recording. He records a T3 run, rather. And while Jimmy Glockner runs at the back end of the top 10, confusing to say the least there.
Yeah, that was a bit of a interesting thing, but it looks like despite the kind of hiccup there, it looks like they're going to count each of these laps. Krataki able to put down a 6.25, and in conditions that are a bit optimal here, Justin, we're kind of reaching the point. We had a cloud cover there for just a brief moment over the entire speedway, so the track cooled down a little bit. It's down to 67 degrees from the 69 that we started with, so perhaps this is the optimal time with it getting later and later in the evening for somebody to try to put down their fastest lap of the session.
It's Sam King now on the racetrack for Bobby Edwards Legacy Esports. A P3, a P3, a P3, and a P2 last night. King with a lot of various sim racing experience as well, and well regarded for his experience on the short tracks.
He is, and he was somebody that was very consistent last night, Justin. He said he wasn't even the strongest at the quarter-mile version of this track, but we basically found him on the podium for every go-round, and we'll see what he puts down here, 17.701. That'll put him about halfway through the drivers that are run right now. He's about 8th, but looking to dig for the second lap as well, maybe try to improve a little bit.
Yes, indeed. He runs a various sim racing series, by the way, with Redline Racing, with Sarah, and several other groups. It's a 17.6, though. That puts him up around his teammates. That's P5 on the board at the moment. One of his biggest challengers, though, throughout 2020 in the Cars eSport Tour has been this man, Ryan Matthews from LeDuc Matthews Racing. Well regarded for his setup ability, well regarded for his ability on the tracks. He is your point leader for the Cars eSport Tour for the Super Late Models going into its finale this upcoming week.
And boy, he was up by the wall in 3 and 4. I don't think we've seen anybody venture up that high to try and build up speed coming to the line, and he was able to carry as much at the stripe as anybody we've seen run tonight. Is he able to put it on the top of the board? He's awfully close. He's going to be going for it again. He's P3 right now.
17.6 for the Mechanicsville, Virginia-based driver, sponsored by McConey Setup Shop and Carbon Racing Solutions tonight. Also, SLM Auto Service on the car. The LeDuc Matthews Racing Machine, this time a 17.636. His second time around, not able to bump up. He's P3, though, on the board. That brings up the next of the real-world drivers looking to make the transition over to the sim. It is Dawson Fletcher, who races in a pro and super late model in real life for Ronnie Whitlock Driver Development. He'll be driving the total PFC machine in the number 71 tonight.
What the PFC Toyota can do. I got to tell you what, though, Matthews and the way he was tracking off the corner, very confident, getting within inches of the outside wall. So Matthews P3 on the board, but I really like the way he was running the track. I think once we move over to a long run here, get running, obviously in race pace, he could be awfully strong. I really like the way that car looked, like the way the 71 looks on the bottom here as well.
Also runs with Brett Reagan Racing from Canton, Georgia. At 71, putting up a 17.479. That is your pull time.
Boy, I like the way that Dawson was looking, and he certainly proved it. Cooling track conditions perhaps playing into his favor, but nevertheless, he brought speed, and he was rolling about as low as anybody could, and he made it stick. First driver to break into the 17.4s.
That was unexpected there. What a time, as that brings up Tommy Kelly to put in his time. So the number 18 machine looking to show what he can do now here on the racetrack from Mooresville, North Carolina, driving the number 32 tonight, or rather the 18.
And we will see what he is able to do. He cuts down here. Oh, he's a little sideways off at 2. Kicked out the rear end a little bit. I think he recognizes that. He's going to try to cut down here, build up a little speed towards the second lap, and hopefully this one will be his heater.
17.696. That's still a very quick time. The problem is that is in the back end of the top 10. We'll see how Kelly does on this second lap. Here at speed, looking to come off the corner. The Carolina Club driver needing to go up 2 tenths, loses a tenth. He'll stay at the back end of the top 10 as a result.
Yeah, the Beard of Speed just a little too loose off of turn 2. It seemed on both laps. The first go around, he was a little sideways. And I think, again, Justin, he kind of recognized that, ran a little high, tried to build up a little more speed coming to the line for lap 2. But again, it was just off of turn 2. The back end of that car was just a little too sideways for him to carry that speed down the back straightaway. But we'll get and keep on rolling here with Devin Morgan driving the 112 Ford.
If you remember back to last winter, had ran with Glovebox Motorsport on that side. Devin Morgan, though, one of the most well-regarded drivers in South Carolina in the Southeast. A driver who races in real life on the pavement, has raced in the dirt as well, was one of your top championship competitors in the iRacing World of Outlaws Morton Building's Late Model World Championship this year. Also, organizations like PRN at the track keep close eyes on this driver. At 17.7, though, to start off his laps.
He's running a little bit higher and not able to quite cut down off of 2. It seems like the last couple of drivers we've seen have gotten awfully loose. You see he'll run right along the yellow line this time in 3 and 4, so he changes it up. He may have scraped the wall off of 2, but they're going to allow him the lap anyway. It wouldn't have made a difference. 8 thousandths slower was Devin Morgan there, so he'll sit at that 17.791, good for 14th on the board.
Drivers on iRacing, in some cases, can argue the tire warming. The tire warming definitely did not work, by the way, for that argument. Again, Justin Prince, Blake McCann was with you. Ryan Bauer in the director's seat. Powered by TopFlightPC.com for tonight's action. Again, you are watching single car qualifying for tomorrow night's main event for the All-American eSports 400, the 400-mile, 250-lap super late model race to cap off what's been an entertaining 3 total nights of this event so far. It's night 2, and it's Pete Paolini on the track. He drives in real life, also drives for Renko Motorsports this evening. He's sponsored by that organization, runs a lot with them in that 51.
He does, and again, this is a recreation. Oh, hard into the wall off of turn 4. He got a little bit tight, and Justin, that may actually mess him up because he was making contact perhaps past the start-finish line, so this may disallow both lap times because he was hitting it before and after the stripe, but nevertheless, he is sliding all over the place. He's got some damage, so this lap, regardless, they're actually going to allow him to put it down by 18.15, not what Pete wanted.
Not even close. He may have to go into the LCQ with that time at the moment. That brings up one of your drivers who performed really well last night, including a top 5 run. He's driving the Johnson graphics machine to jump tonight. It's Austin Johnson looking to show what he can do now in his 21.
And Johnson will once again take that kind of cut down off of 3 and 4, and you can see on the track very shaded is this racetrack. We've caught a little bit of a cloud, and of course that sun is continuing to go down behind the grandstands here. It's nearly starting to set, but we'll see what Johnson's able to do. If that cooler condition will help him, a little loose off of 4, that's not going to help him for the second lap, but he still puts up a very good time, 6:13, good for P5 right now.
Air temp is starting to drop by 1 degree Fahrenheit at the moment. Johnson coming out of turn 4 from Fresno, California. Looking to see if the cool temps will help. No, it's a 17.7 on his second time around. So not able to bump up his time from inside the top 5. Next driver on deck. There are several waiting on the deck. Believe maybe Jonathan Smith coming up here in just a moment in his number 24 machine, if not Michael Murray. There are still several drivers to qualify. It is indeed Jonathan Smith next up.
Well, and Dustin, what I was going to say there before the 51 tagged the wall there, Ryan Matthews, was about how this will be obviously a recreation of what you'll see on Halloween night next week for the All-American 400, trying to do qualifying and everything just like you'll see in real life, and even giving you a nice little shot. This is what it looks like from the grandstands right here, and this is why Nashville is such a great racetrack. You can see everything, and obviously a lot of great racing to boot with it. We'll see what Jonathan Smith is able to do in his Dodge as he crosses the line.
Of course, tickets for the 36th running of the All-American 400 available for here at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Log on to NashvilleFairgroundsSpeedway.racing. Search for Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway on Facebook and follow them on Twitter at Race Fairgrounds today. Again, October 30th to November the 1st. But it's Jonathan Smith looking to bump up from a 17.701 to 1,000 slower the second time. Not able to move it up.
And he goes down a little bit on his second lap, and that's been interesting, Justin. I have to say that I was anticipating that nearly every driver, it would go one of both ways, that either the first lap would always be faster for every driver, or the second lap, once you've built up heat in the tires. It's generally the way iRacing seems to work with that type of stuff. Is it's usually either just the first lap or just the second lap. It depends on the track, car combination, myriad of factors go into that. But tonight we've seen kind of both ends of the spectrum. We've seen drivers that are very pleased with their first lap, and we've seen ones that are able to recover and get that heater on their second lap as well.
Michael Murray currently now getting up to speed, a 17.744 this time by for Michael Murray. He drives for Murray Racing from Columbia, Tennessee, a local driver to this area and this facility, looking to move up an extra couple tenths to be inside the top 10 at the very minimum. It's a 17-8 the second time, and it's now looking like prior to the start of the session, drivers are getting now quicker on the first lap and losing time on the second.
And that's also a good point there, Justin, as well, that a lot of these drivers that were able to get better on their second lap, they obviously went earlier in the session. So just perhaps with how much grip is out there right now, a track that continues to cool down, you can see the shade on that All-American 400 weekend sign right there, that of course everything laser scan pictured in iRacing just like it would be in real life. As we'll see, Jake Sylvia, he'll make his way on the board, and he was a part of last night's festivities as well.
Yes, indeed. It actually was fairly impressive. From Middletown, Rhode Island, 17.750 to start off his qualifying. He'll be looking to try and improve from some of his runs as well. A little bit squirrely, though, coming off the corners. Keep in mind, this is a very bumpy track and very slippery track. Here in real life and on iRacing, that slipperiness costs him a few 100s on a second attempt.
Well, I'll tell you what, Justin, that as there's more grip kind of coming into this racetrack right now, these drivers continue to want to run the bottom. Those bumps that are laser scanned down to where they are exact with how they are in real life is what they are in iRacing. And anybody who's raced in Nashville Fairgrounds in real life knows that there are those bumps in the bottom groove, particularly on the exit of turn 2. And I think that's why we're seeing all these drivers start to get loose on the exit of 2. Those bumps are upsetting the race car. We'll see the 25. He'll go kind of around where the worst part of it is, and he's able to roll on through on the back straightaway.
And it's someone we're both familiar with. This is for Amica eSports, which purchased a stake in High Performance Motorsports recently, a 17.6 to start. He was one of your contenders early on in the Road to Pro campaign for making it to the Pro Series. Now he's crashing down the back straightaway. His qualifying run is over. Significant right side damage for Daniel Roper.
He still was able to get a pretty decent lap in there, is able to put him P8 on the board, and he kind of had the opposite problem. Rather than having the bumps upset the rear end of the car and get loose, he got tight running a little bit higher. So these drivers, again, this is what I love about this racetrack and why so many sim racers like myself have really enjoyed the addition of Nashville Fairgrounds to the iRacing service, is because of the ability to run multiple lanes and how challenging it is, how narrow of a racetrack it could be on corner exit. It's just a very fun facility to get around as we look at Brad right now.
That's his teammate, in fact, right here. He was just shy of making it inside the top 20 on points. 23rd overall in Road to Pro this year from High Point, North Carolina. And he's also nearly spinning it. He's also done a 17.6 was his best time. 6th best on the board.
He's 6th best, as we just have a couple of drivers further to go here. As you take a beautiful look, you got the Nashville skyline in the background as the sun continues to set here over the Music City. We see Jeffrey Eddy will roll off there in his Ford Fusion. He'll try to put up a good lap time here. He was didn't quite crack the 17-second barrier in practice. We'll see if he's able to do it here in qualifying.
His family watching along tonight. Eddie drives for Team 126 Racing from Akron, New York. That green-white machine looking to make its way around for its first recorded lap this time by. A little bit slower off the corner, an 18.3 to start. Needs to pick up a second or so.
Needs to pick up a second, and again, he's like some of our drivers beforehand, Sartain in particular, just being very careful to, not kind of track out too far on the straightaways. You see, he leaves a lot of room between he and the wall, and that's, that will slow you down a little bit here. Nashville's an intimidating track. He'll gain about 0.3 of a second, so a big pickup there on his second lap. But right now, that's still going to put him, I'm sure, in a spot that he doesn't want to be in.
He is on the bubble, in fact. 3 drivers are left to qualify. This is one of them. From Canada, in fact, from Northern Ontario, this is Carson Nagy. And Carson Nagy, his father ran in the predecessor to the NASCAR Pinty Series in Casco. Carson Nagy himself has made starts in the APC United Late Model Series. That is a super late model series based out of Canada that runs throughout the province of Ontario. He also ran in the virtual counterpart back in the spring. He also runs various sim racing leagues in organizations. including recently spotting for his fellow compatriots from up north for the Cars eSport Tour.
Well, he's able to do that. His first lap was not allowed as he scraped the outside wall and he put his left sides on the apron. So not imagining that this is going to go in an upward trajectory, and it doesn't. A 3:02 is what he puts down. So a little bit behind of where the 88 just went. So that'll put the 93 behind the 8 ball here with just a couple of drivers left to go.
A rough qualifying run for the Mount Hope, Ontario driver. Races Chicasa Motor Speedway. Rides for limited racing in real life. And now, 2 drivers are left to qualify. The driver currently out is Cam Davidson. The next driver on the docket is Zach Coyer. Does camera work at this facility in real life. Seems to be supporting Randy Marsh for 2020. Let's put it that way, to touch upon that a little bit. But as he looks to bring the Colt Beer racing machine up towards the front, he was actually very quick last night.
He was a contender in a lot of those races, and we'll see what he's able to do here as we move over to the 5/8 oval right here. He'll get his first lap running a little bit higher, but you see the cut down, a big diamond line right there. He's able to carry a lot of speed off of turn 2, going to run the middle in 3 and 4, going to be able to cut down again. He's carrying a lot of speed. Oh, he gets a little loose there off of 2, but it's good enough to put him in the show right now, 17.950.
And he is good by at least 6 positions. Now this is about moving up positions. This is currently 23rd best on the pylon. 17.950 last time by. This time in the Ford Mustang, a 17.926. He'll finish 22nd. That leaves 1 driver left to roll on the track. That is currently Robbie Keneally, who was not been able to make it to the session after being one of your quickest drivers in practice. That can be huge. He will likely have to go to the LCQ as a result, meaning your top qualifier for tomorrow's 400-mile, 250-lap super late model race is Dawson Fletcher, putting the fastest time out of anybody, 17.479. Zach Nichols, Traden Lapsevich, Ryan Matthews, Austin Johnson, Brad Wright, Jaden Ritaki, Dalton Collins, Daniel Roper, Sam King, your top 10 on the board tonight, Blake, for qualifying.
They were able to round out the top 10. Albert Cordell will qualify in 11th. Rolling off from 12th will be Dylan Bates. 13th will be William Hale. 14th goes to Tommy Kelly. 15th starting position goes to Jonathan Smith. 16th will go to Michael Murray. 17th to Josh Cossack. 18th will be Jake Sylvia. 19th to Jimmy Calker. And 20th will be Devin Morgan.
This is where it gets tight with the cut line, and the LCQ is going to have a couple drivers the most. These are the drivers who would be in it if that's the case below 28. Jackson Lewis, Zach Coyer, Brandon Hughes, Craig Arbenides, Robert Duria, Jeffrey Eddy, Pete Polini, along with Carson Nagy, are all safe. The drivers who are in that danger zone are Dylan Sartain, Cam Davidson, and as mentioned, no qualifying lap turned by Robbie Keneally, who had been a contender in all 4 of the races last night on the quarter-mile track here at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Good competitive qualifying session here on Podium Esports. Blake, your thoughts on the session overall?
Well, again, I love watching single car qualifying. Again, as sim racing broadcasters, it's just not something that we get to do all too often. Usually you just throw out 5 minutes, allow everybody to run their qualifying laps and get it done. There's just something so much different about knowing that everybody's watching you, having that pressure on to go out and perform where everybody's watching you. I know a couple months ago when we did that for the Firecracker 400 that was run by eRacer, that it was certainly something that you could feel that pressure, and it's nice to kind of get that, particularly for the sim racers. Obviously the real life racers, they're used to it. It's nothing new to them, but it's nice to see that. And then obviously we're following in step with what the All-American East or real life 400 would have, and there's no better way to do it than to put down a quick time and do it in 2 laps. And Dawson Fletcher, didn't have the track conditions that were ideal as it started to cool down towards the end of the session, but oh boy, did he put down a real heater. Only driver that hit the 17.4s. He's a well-deserved pole winner tonight.
Take you side by side. You're watching Podium eSports for the All-American eSports 400. It's night 2 for the virtual Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Stick around. Back at the virtual Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway here in Nashville, Tennessee for night 2 coverage of the All-American eSports 400. Just wrapped up super late model qualifying here on Podium eSports. Justin Prince, Blake McCandless with you, with Ryan Bauer in the director's seat for tonight's action. It was an action-packed qualifying session with several drivers having some issues and slamming the walls, while others, they put in some flyers. It was Dawson Fletcher who put in the fastest time in them all. The only driver the entire session, whether in practice preparation or in the main qualifying, who put up a 17.4. Dawson, first things first, how does it feel to be on the pole for the All-American eSports 400's main event tomorrow night?
It's really nice. Honestly, prior to my qualifying lap, I was kind of nervous on what I was going to run, but I was like 6th or 7th in practice, and I knew there is kind of a thing going on with the whole brakes, leaving the pits, and I mean, I think it's kind of one of those things, everyone's doing it, so we got to do it, but just ran the bottom. It's where I've always been comfortable, and it rolled. Conditions were right, so I guess we're starting in pole tomorrow, and probably let some cars go hang out and try and win the thing.
Now let's talk through how this track feels overall as a competitor. How is it trying to balance the speed and also making sure you either don't slam and push up into the wall like several drivers did, or loop it down the track like a couple others did down the back?
Yeah, I think come race time, the line for me changes a lot, at least, just to keep the tires under it and not do either of those things. Because if you kind of run run higher going into one and drive down the racetrack, generally it doesn't go to the wall super quick and it doesn't try and spin you out. So I think you're going to see the line change pretty quick in the beginning, but and we're going to have to save tires with this new tire model, but it'll be interesting. I think you'll see some guys hang out and some guys go for it, but I'll be hanging out.
Actually, glad you mentioned that with some of the updates in recent weeks, actually, to the iRacing service with this. Kind of how did that change the game for this? Because for the super late models before, they were known for, on iRacing, how to put this politely, for having about a couple tenths of a second of fall off and your quickest laps coming on 100 laps on a restart if you had it.
Yeah, they've always been like that, at least for me, since I've played iRacing, and for it to change, it was really weird. I've run 2 races here at Nashville last week in official, and the first one was really weird because I'm not used to the tires falling off, and at lap 30, like, I realized what the new tire model was going to do. But I think tomorrow, this track especially, it's so big, 1 lap feels like forever, so I think I'm going to burn tires up, and we're going to see who can really wield these things.
Now, as the drivers like yourself get ready for tomorrow, what's going to be your approach like as you get to dictate the pace?
I'm going to be taking it easy. In both official races I've run, I've let 4 or 5 cars by, and just let them go for 30 laps, and then you kind of go for it. So I think tomorrow is just going to be that, but maybe let a couple more cars by, fall back to 10th, wait for a late race caution, get tires, and go. But I don't know. I don't know who's going to lag back and who's not. I think the people that aren't, you're going to see behind slower pace guys pretty quick, and it should get really interesting later in the race.
For which go, anyone you want to thank for your run tonight to be able to start from the point?
Always, the sponsors in real life help out, and to be able to run their logos on the car for this kind of stuff is cool. But a big thanks to Fire Client Command, Ronnie Whitlock, everyone that just helps on the race cars in real life, and Brett Reagan and Chris Delbeck have done a lot for me. So just out here having fun tonight, but hopefully we're going to do good.
Congratulations on getting the pole time for tonight's race. Heck of a lap.
Thank y'all. Y'all good night.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Dawson Brock, of course, for tomorrow night, should rather say, in that regard, a flyer of a time, Blake, he put up. It was actually deceptively quick, to say the very least.
Well, it was, because we were just talking about how Zach Nichols was almost able to break that 17.4 second barrier, and how good of a lap he had just put down, and then all of a sudden here comes a 17.4 out of nowhere. I won't say out of nowhere. We obviously knew that Dawson was going to be very fast tonight, and we were even mentioning while we were watching his lap how smooth it looked. But we didn't get a whole time to give a lot of praise to Zach Nichols for his lap, because Fletcher came out there and ran a 17.4, and mind you, and again, in conditions that I think where if he had run a little bit later, maybe you pick up another couple hundredths of a second or so. So no doubt about it, Dawson was ready to run his qualifying time tonight. But it's really interesting to hear that he's not looking quite early on to defend his lead all that quickly. Worrying about saving tires already is in the back of his mind. So we'll have to see how different drivers play that strategy, if they're going to be looking towards that long run, because obviously we have a very long race and we have it on a big track like Dawson was saying. So it's interesting to see that that's already playing into their psyche about saving those tires, and having them for the end of the race is going to be key.
Still a lot of racing action to go on the night. It's the Super Trucks coming up next. You're watching Putting eSports for Night 2 coverage of the All-American eSports 400. It's a virtual at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Stick around.
I'm ready to play now. Put me in the game now. I came came here to prove it, I'm ready to do it, I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now, I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top. I'm ready to do this, show you what the truth is. I step on the field, it's time to get real, I'm feeling so ruthless. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Yeah. So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made of. Get in the game, your moment of fame, show them what you made of. It's time that we stand up, it's time that we man up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up. My time, nothing can keep me from reaching the top. This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to rise. I'm ready to throw down, it's time for the showdown. I'm ready to rise, don't be surprised, I'll take on the world now. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We're reaching the top, we're reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We're reaching the top, we're reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up, I'm never going back down. Hand over my heart, I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
Welcome back to Podium Esports' coverage of the All-American Esports 400. It's the second night for the virtual Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway in Nashville, Tennessee. And now, for many drivers, it's time to get ready and get set to go racing in the Super Trucks for 50 laps. Justin Prince, Blake McCann was with you with Ryan Bauer in the director's seat for tonight's action as we get ready for tonight's first feature race of the evening. This is going to be an intriguing one to keep an eye on here because this is to replicate the real-world truck races that happen at this facility. Drivers have been given a 500+ pound weight penalty and a 5% power reduction to replicate how these trucks would drive and what speeds they would have in real life, Blake.
and they've done that to a T. They've, of course, added some weight to them, added everything that you would need according to the real-life rulebook as well to try and make these trucks as similar as possible. In iRacing, these were obviously the trucks that were scanned back in 2008, the Chevy Silverados that were run the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series at the time. But obviously, the one thing that's been great throughout this entire weekend is the adaptability and the customization that iRacing can bring to these guys so that they can run these vehicles and it'll closely replicate what you see in real life. And much like it is in real life, much slower times. We're talking about guys breaking into the 19 seconds, not trying to get a 14.6 or a 14.4 or something like that with the super late model. So obviously slowing them down, but still going to put some exciting racing on. As you see, these guys are sliding around in these big, heavy trucks.
Was going to say, how do you drive this as a competitor tonight, knowing these tracks are going to be heavy? This track has been known for being slippery, and oh, by the way, as seen last night, qualifying, yes, can take place in the late afternoon, but like you would see in real life, that starts off the evening where fans are filing on into the stands and watching qualifying. Then for the actual racing, you go under the lights.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And of course, that's going to be different even with practice. It's not just qualifying in the race. We're practicing right now. In sim time, you could see it's about 2 o'clock local time here in the Music City. But of course, qualifying will kick it forward. And then at night, obviously, we'll be running under the lights. So that's it. That's even something you have to keep in mind as a driver as well. I mean, just as a quick comparison, the qualifying session that we just left, track temperature got down to about 66, 67 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, guess what? It's already 93. Much higher is what these drivers are running on, as they're also having to shift the vehicle that they're driving in. So much different conditions. These drivers are having to adapt to a lot of it, and especially with the added weight to these trucks. It'll be interesting to see who's able to grasp it quickly.
Absolutely. And who are some of the drivers you're keeping on the most tonight? Because several of the drivers from last night are returning, but we also have several new drivers who didn't compete in the first night. Blake.
Yeah, I think when you look at the competitors, I think you just have to go with Trayton Lapcevich. I know that's an easy one to pick, but he's been so quick in just about anything. Last night, won 3 of our 4 races, was also fast in the qualifying session. So I know it's easy, but I just think you gotta go with Lapcevich. Obviously, somebody who runs very strong across different segments, across different cars. We've seen he's been able to translate anything over, whether it's the quarter mile or the big track here in Nashville. I think he's well equipped to do both.
As you see the times right now, separated by just a few 100ths and a few tenths of a second at the top of the charts here. But at this point, how would you play the race overall? And how important will the track position be when these drivers hit the track for qualifying? Because as we've seen last night, it could be a little bit crazy here.
Well, I was about to say, I think it's all about track position. I know we're not on the quarter mile anymore, but if last night was any indication, a lot of these drivers are probably carrying over a lot of baggage from last night, a lot of rivalries, a lot of drama and implications that happened last night. I'm sure drivers never forget. I can almost remember somebody that wrecked me 8 years ago, and I could tell you what track and what we were doing then. So drivers have very long memories. So everything that happened last night is going to carry on to tonight. So I think qualifying that you mentioned is going to be of particular importance because track position is going to be key. We saw Lapcevich was able to stick up at front for so much of the night because he was able to qualify well and avoid kind of all the carnage. Obviously, we're on the bigger track. It's not going to be quite as chaotic, I don't think, but you have to qualify well. And then obviously here with these trucks, the tires are going to wear much differently than what we were seeing last night. Tire wear is going to be a huge factor here. So that's also going to come into the question as well. A lot of weight added to these trucks to kind of mimic what's going on in real life and whatnot. So I think that's going to be the biggest difference from last night to tonight is running on the big oval, 50 laps. Tire wear is going to be a factor, as Dawson was mentioning earlier. I think we won't only see it in the running of the 400 tomorrow night, but we're also going to see it tonight in these trucks.
Indeed. I'd like to give a quick shout out, by the way, to your champions that were named for the Real World Sanction Series at this track In the Whelen Super Trucks in 2020, congratulations to Tanner Arms, who was the overall season champion, and the Rookie of the Year went to Michael Coran in these trucks. It was a competitive series that's seen 16 starters throughout the campaign, and the championship was separated by just 9 points overall. And keep in mind, these trucks overall in terms of chassis-wise and build-wise are not quite the same as what you see for the modern day in terms of aerodynamics a little bit, as well as that front splitter much more different compared to what you see today in the railroad trucks.
Oh, of course. But again, this is what we could get closest to if we were going to try to replicate, obviously, everything in real life. You know, running the modern trucks, you'd even almost talk about draft even when trying to compare it to what the Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series runs in the scans that are into iRacing now. So I think this is the best available option, and it'll be interesting to see again because this is something we haven't seen in a while. We're running a lot of these legacy cars. If you've been on iRacing for a while, we're seeing a lot of stuff that you don't often see race anymore, and it's exciting to see that stuff continue to be utilized even 12, 13 years after it was first available in the sim.
And the reason you see all these drivers lined up in the pit lane is the drivers meeting is currently wrapping up at the moment, and drivers want to go back out and get a couple more warm-up laps before they get solo qualifying. But the sanctioning body in charge of this event is the Southeastern Esports Association that was founded to bring high-level events that we have come to know and love, from the real world to the sim world. The association mostly deals with high-level short-track events such as this, the All-American 400, the Snowball Derby, the US Short Track Nationals, etc. Also, don't let the name fool you. We race at any iRacing track and have drivers from all over the sim. For more info, visit southeasternesports.com. That is southeastern-esports.com. Again, the All-American 400 is all set to take place in real life as well next week from October 30th to November the 1st. Several of the drivers you've seen compete throughout the weekend so far are set to qualify for the several local and main event races for this upcoming weekend. For tickets to the 36th running of the All-American 400 at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, log on to NashvilleFairgroundsSpeedway.racing. Search for Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway on Facebook and follow them on Twitter at RaceFairgrounds today. As these drivers get ready, want to give one quick last shout out to Makoni Setup Shop, your home for iRacing setups, the official setup provider as well for these events you've seen throughout the weekend. From short track racing to Class A intermediates, Makoni Setup Shop has it all. If you aren't already running a Makoni Setup Shop setup, you're probably losing to someone who is. For more info, visit MakoniSetupShop.com. And to loop onto that, a lot of work has been put in by Makoni Setup Shop for these custom fixed setups to make sure they are tailored exactly to how they should drive and how they would drive in real life here, Blake.
And that is so true, Justin, that a lot of work has gone into, Nashville, again, is a new addition to iRacing. So you don't have some of these tracks that have been scanned in, and drivers have had nearly a decade to kind of build some notes on it, go through all these different builds and scans and tracks and cars that iRacing has put out. So obviously this needed a lot of special attention for all of the unique things, the weight penalties and whatnot, the different cars that we were going to be seeing run on a quarter mile, and the fact that, just like in real life, there's things you can find that can gain you some speed or make things a little bit better for your car. The same can be said. It's just a different way in iRacing when you have to kind of play around with setups and find things that, maybe work in real life, maybe don't, but end up working in the sim. So Makoni Setup Shop had a tall task in front of them to try and make all of these combinations work for these drivers and give these drivers something that was a balance of being difficult to drive, yet also putting everybody on an equal playing field since they all have the same setup out there. So a good shout out to them, because I've heard a lot of these drivers talking, regardless of the car we've been running, about what a fun experience it has been to drive these different cars and, the good job that they've done on these setups. So a shout out to them for getting everything set up in a manner that we can see a good show in front of us.
Yeah, that front runners race I think was the most intriguing, with where you had Pontiac Solstices and Mazda MX-5s competing on the quarter mile track. Came down to the final lap and bumping and banging. Using the doors, Oliver Cordell came away with a victory over Trayden Lapsevich. Drivers have about a minute and a half before they will start qualifying. Final few moments of practice given to them. The drivers at the top of the board, Dylan Bates in 19.157. Dalton Collins is currently second. Sam Kane, Ryan Matthews, Jackson Lewis, your top 5 in practice. Overall, 23 total drivers are expected to hit the track for tonight's action, with William Hale in the race control seat for when this green flag drops. Your quick final thoughts before we start off qualifying here for these trucks.
The one thing I'm looking at, Justin, is loose on corner exit. I can't tell you how many guys are sliding those rear tires, particularly off of turn 2. It was a trouble spot even in the super late models, and we are seeing it once again here in these trucks. Perhaps those bumps, especially with how heavy this truck is, starting to come into play. So it'll be interesting to see, but on these cold tires, it seems that this thing is pretty loose on exit. It'll kind of build to being a little more snug later on in the run. But we'll have to see. I'm looking at a lot of cars, their first or second lap. They're having some trouble in practice, so we'll have to see who's able to handle it over a long run, and obviously who's able to handle it in qualifying.
Instant time has moved to about 4 p.m. to signify the real-world type of racing. That means the track temps will change now for what you just seen in practice. It's a little bit cooler now, 88 degrees Fahrenheit, 86 air temp, still windy of 9 miles an hour to the southwest, 50% humidity. Drivers will get 5 minutes to run 2 solo qualified laps, regardless of that time you see in the left corner of your screen. Either way, no mistakes, because the time difference seen by drivers was up to 2 seconds in practice.
A very wide gap, and that wasn't something that we saw here in the super late models. But with these trucks and with how heavy they are, if you're able to hit it right and roll through the center, there's a lot of time to gain right there. And we'll have to see. Jonathan Smith, who you're riding along board, 19.306. That's good for 4th out of 6 drivers so far that have pulled some laps. But right now, Sylvia at the top of the board, 19.198 is where he's currently running right now. So a large spectrum of times I think we're going to see here. It looks like the 19.1s will put you probably in the top 5 based off of what we saw in practice.
19.1 to the top of the board quickly, though. As mentioned, cooler track. That's Jackson Lewis. That's put up his time, and there goes the 21 of Austin Johnson on his second qualifying lap over the racetrack. He's currently in P8, 3/10 off the pole. That will not improve it, obviously, after that one. Some of the other drivers to keep an eye on. Jeffrey Eddy looking to improve from super late model qualifying. Some of the other drivers who were very quick yesterday. Dalton Collins, Trayden Lapsevich, they're expected to be quick. Also keep an eye on Ryan Matthews and Ryden Lapsevich. In regards to Ryden Lapsevich, the youngest of the Lapsevich brothers, he's now making one of his major event debuts. One of the first times we've seen him on Podium Esports.
And we'll see if he's capable, just like the fellow Lapsevich that dominated a lot of the going last night. You can see off the corner, pretty smooth in there. Hard entry. This is where a lot of drivers have been really loose. Second lap off of 4. Drifts up a little bit. Doesn't seem to be wiggling all too much. We'll see what the time is as he crosses the board. 19.440 is what he puts down. Good enough for P10. And that was actually his first lap. He's now coming around for his second attempt.
No, that was his second attempt. He had a non-recorded lap on his first one, I believe. But one driver who has not yet set a time because they've been busy warming up the tires because iRacing things is Dalton Collins. This is now going to come up to his one and only potential attempt. He did not record a time his first official lap.
And we'll see if he's able to do it. You can see him rolling through the center right there. Misses all those bumps at the top of, or on the exit of turn 2. Nearly scrapes the wall. Runs a little bit lower here in 3 and 4. Looks awfully smooth. Smooth transition to the gas. We'll see what it is.
It's Paul. 19.048. Dalton Collins to the top of the pylon with less than 2 minutes to work with. What a flyer and what a spin for TJ Rooker you've seen right there. Only a couple other drivers have a chance to bump him off the pylon, including your fastest driver in practice, Dylan Bates.
And Bates right there looking to run a little bit higher through 1 and 2 than a lot of our competitors. We'll have to see what he's able to put down here. Works it through 3 and 4. Again, kind of that ideal line looks to be about half a lane up. And he's actually not going to want to complete his lap. And of course, that's Justin, that's just one benefit of iRacing is you can come around coming to your second lap. And if you don't like it, you don't think you're going to carry enough speed to start your second lap. Well, guess what? This is sim racing. That's what that reset button is for. Not going to have time to build up some tire temps in those Goodyear Eagles that he's got going on, but he'll at least kind of get to rerun out of turn 4 and try to put down a better run this time.
He'll need no mistakes here, to say the very least. Again, still the pole at 19.048. Daryl Palmore, TJ Rooker, Mark Humble, Zach Coyer, the only our drivers not yet to record a time for Bates this time. It is a 19.029 to put him on the pole.
Oh, wow. A mistake on his first lap. He puts on the binders to not cross the line, and Dylan Bates marvelously puts it on late in the going here. One of the last drivers to put down a qualifying time, and he does it in pretty late term fashion to the top of the board. 2 drivers have bested a 19.1. We'll see if Rooker is able to join one of those in his volunteer machine.
He's one of the drivers who didn't compete last night, and he will run out of time. As mentioned, they only had 5 minutes to work with. He spun twice either way. But it's time to look at how these drivers will line up as we move away to 8 p.m. in sim time for tonight's action here on October 31st in Sim Day. It's Dylan Bates on the pole tonight. He'll start alongside Dalton Collins, his family well known at this facility, driving for Bobby Owens Legacy eSports for this weekend. Jackson Lewis starts in row 2 alongside Trenton Lapsevich, with Ryan Matthews, one of the top short track drivers on the service, rounding out your top 5. Jake Sylvia will start in 6th after tying with Matthews in time. The tiebreaker with 10,000th went to Matthews. Sam King will start in 7th alongside Oliver Cordell. Rounding out top 10, Joseph McWhorter will start alongside Jonathan Smith-Blake.
On the inside of row number 6, it'll be Josh Kosick alongside Austin Johnson in 12th. Ryden Lapsevich will start in 13th. 14th goes to Dawson Fletcher. He was the fastest qualifier in the super late models, and he will roll off 14th here in the super trucks. Michael Murray will roll off in 15th starting spot. 16th goes to Carden Cochran. 17th will be Jeffrey Eddy. 18th goes to Dylan Sartain. 19th, the final driver to post a qualifying time here this evening was Robert Duria, and then William Hale rounded out the top 20. He did not post a qualifying time, as well as our remaining competitors, Mark Humble, Daryl Palmore, TJ Rooker, and Zach Coyer.
Let's look at how your drivers are. Remember, it'll be William Hale, expected race control tonight. Again, 18 degrees of banking in the corners at this 0.596 mile facility, just under a kilometer. In sim track temperature now 84 degrees, so is the air temp for tonight. 50 laps the distance. In sim day, October 31st, 2020. For these drivers, that's 28 miles, about 46 kilometers. They'll also deal with 9 miles an hour, winds to the southwest tonight, 54% humidity for this race. Again, no tire changes allowed for this race tonight. Drivers will also have to deal, as mentioned, with a 500-pound weight penalty and a 5% power reduction to follow the real world type of driving for these trucks. Now, Blake, these drivers getting ready to roll off the starting grid. Your keys to winning this event.
Well, we saw last night it was survival that ended up being the biggest key, and I think survival and tire saving, I think, is going to come into play as well. We saw a lot of drivers who were really skating off the exit of the corners, and you and I both well know that is not good for those rear tires. You cook them in iRacing, it's going to make you very miserable all night long. So keeping those rear tires on, especially when a lot of these trucks were looking very loose, I think that's going to be what a lot of these drivers have on their minds, and something they need to keep in their mind if they're going to have a chance to compete in this one.
Drivers getting all set to go for night 2 of racing for the All-American eSports 400 as these drivers roll for one more pace lap. Remind you of one of the presenting sponsors for this event throughout the weekend, Paradigm Racing. The days of worrying about your team's marketing are over. Paradigm takes the lead, allowing you more time to focus on one thing: winning. Paradigm is your source to handle everything from sponsorship proposals to race day photography and social media, allowing you to focus on getting to victory lane. Paradigm will make sure you look good while you get there. For more info, visit ParadigmOnline.net today. Drivers all set to go. Pace car is off. The Super Trucks all ready to go from Nashville. We're underway for night 2 of the All-American eSports 400. Bates and Collins hard into turn 1. Still charging hard and pushing around is Collins. Can't give the squeeze. Bates can't get clear down the back.
And there you see the multi-crew at Nashville Fairgrounds is the 95 of Dalton Collins holding Bates on the inside, who's going to get loose. And oh boy, he's able to collect that race truck. What a remarkable save there from Bates as he collects it here. Oh, they're going to crash on the front straightaway.
No caution yet. Jonathan Smith around and a couple others were squeezed into the fence. Now the caution is out. 3, 4, 5 different trucks were sandwiched against the wall there before that truck went around and snapped.
It did. It all started with Dylan Bates, who on the bottom, we saw Collins was running him really hard to the bottom side of the racetrack, and we've seen that when those trucks get pitched down there, they get awfully loose, especially early in the run. We'll see it one more time from overhead. You see the 17 is able to clear. You see the smoke from Dylan Bates already, and that just creates a check up there, 3 wide. Jonathan Smith gets into the turn right there. Another truck comes and collects him, and you know, Justin, we're not going to exactly see, I think, what we saw last night, where we could get a string of a couple of cautions, but most drivers would be okay with the damage they received. That's not going to be the case in these trucks. They're going much faster. They're on the big boy track, so to speak. So any damage they get is likely going to hurt this truck a lot more than the street stocks that they were running last night.
Smith giving it a long swing penalty from this. Here's a look from Dawson Fletcher. Take a listen. And that is a way to gain a couple positions.
It certainly is, and what a way he was able to barely drive away from that incident. As you saw, they came swiping just in front of the rear of his truck, so lucky to escape with that one. We'll see once again here the caution flag laps. This is the other big thing, Justin. Caution flag laps are going to count in this one, so we're going to continue to click along under caution, unlike we did last night. So if we do run under the yellow flag, I'm sure those leaders aren't going to mind it all too much.
I was talking about that with William Hale prior to tonight's race. Same will be the case for the 150-lap Pro Late Model race later on tonight. 45 laps to go. It is Dalton Collins, Trey Lapsevich, Jackson Lewis, Ryan Matthews, Sam King rounding out the top 5. There were 4 drivers who didn't make the start. Daryl Palmore, William Hale, Robert Duria, and Zach Coyer all did not make the start. Palmore and Hale ended up going to race control for tonight. Jonathan Smith, your first DNF of the night with no faster pairs available. Expecting 2 to go signal this time, expecting 1 to go the next time by. At this point, very early trouble in this one, Blake. How do you now attack this knowing, oh hey, we're going to be very loose on the starts again?
Well, and knowing that it wasn't just somebody that maybe qualified in the back and had already been struggling throughout the night, maybe didn't take a good taking to the track tonight, it was the pole sitter. It was the race leader that struggled and got loose on the bottom. That's something that if I'm a driver and I'm on the inside on this restart, you're going to have to take note of that. We know that this racetrack, and particularly with these trucks, that both grooves are really going to come into play. I think that on the top side, you're going to be able to defend up there, and on the bottom, you're going to be a little loose if you're trying to make those passes. So we'll have to see if they're able to manage that. But I'm going to keep it in the back of my mind that if we saw the race leader, the pole sitter, in that clean air, if he got loose and spun it on the bottom side, that's something you got to take note of as a driver, because through the rest of this field, that's something that could very easily happen again.
Pace car dropping off this time. 2, Bobby Arnold's Legacy eSports machines in control of the field. Green flag is out. We're back on our way. Trey Lapsevich with a better launch on the high side. Dalton Collins, though, has the preferred line as Lewis and Matthews scrap behind down to the back.
And oh boy, has Lapsevich been a restart king, whether it's the quarter mile or the track we're running on now. And he's going to actually work it to the high side, and he may clear Collins off of turn 4, and he's able to do just that. Now side-by-side battle for second as Ryan Matthews, the McConey setup shot machine, trying to work that second lane that looks awfully sporty right now.
Yeah, the top line actually looking fairly sporty. In some of the races we've seen with some of the more higher powered cars, at times you can get the middle line to work if you squeeze down. We're seeing that case for a couple trucks. Dalton Collins, though, still working hard on the bottom side by side for second. Still following on behind as Lewis trying to now move to the middle line as the bottom line is starting to die off a little bit in the side by side. Matthews has to check up the off of 4.
Well, don't tell Dalton Collins that. He's still hanging strong as they look to go around. You get an onboard shot here from Joseph McWhorter, who is kind of just stuck behind these two trucks. You can see they're a single file line for the most part behind them, but nobody has really pulled forward in this fight. McConey is starting to push it a little bit higher on the top side as Ryan Matthews able to get on by, and now it looks like the 95 of Dalton Collins, he's on the inside, and he's kind of getting freight train right here.
Like I said, middle line started coming to play. The McConey setup shop truck now to P2. P3 is now Jackson Lewis. McWhorter now, the next driver, looking to rip up the pecking order with Sam King, the last driver in that line. But it's Traden Lapsevich in the lead now by 0.4 of a second into turns 1 and 2.
Lapsevich able to hold strong to the race lead, but Matthews, who was side-by-side for a little while there with Dalton Collins, slowly reeling him back in. Jackson Lewis looks awfully strong here as well. He's gotten in third, and he has maintained his running order there as well. And it's kind of interesting to see, Justin, where these drivers are straddling these lines at. If they're running kind of halfway above the first groove, they're running a little bit lower in 3 and 4, but some drivers are going all the way up to that second set of white hash marks, especially through turns 1 and 2, to try to find some grip.
Indeed. Single file now for much of the drivers. 35 laps to go this time by. Scrap starting to build up in the second pack. You see in the backdrop. That was Oliver Cordell and Dylan Bates scrapping also. They are just a little bit behind. Another battle starting to form up because Sam King getting impatient. Dalton Collins has finally found space in front of these cars, and King nearly doors the number 3 out of 2.
And McWhorter looked to the high side as he's actually going to scrape the outside wall. He'll get a couple of stripes from that one. Is now trying to push up in front. A little bit of contact there. McWhorter over the comms, not very happy with that. It's the 27 of Sam King. Kind of cleared himself there again. Short track race, and that's something you'll have to remember as McWhorter is able to collect himself. He'll lose another spot to Dalton Collins. Drop kicks him back to 6th place.
Look who's coming, though, for the race lead. It's Ryan Matthews in the McConey setup shop truck, and he's bringing Jackson Lewis with him. Here's the look on board from Lewis. Top 3 have ran away now by 0.8 of a second to the next position behind. And you can see just how much wheel has to be put in down the back straightaway. These trucks gaining were about nearly a full couple 100s quicker than your race leader last time.
They are starting to chase him down just a little bit. As you can see, the top 3 really starting to put a number on this field. Lapsevich running higher than really anybody else behind him, but I think, Justin, that's just kind of a defensive line. I wouldn't say it's necessarily faster, but I think he's been keeping track in his mirror of the battling that's going on. I don't think he's going to make it easy. He'll give Ryan Matthews the bottom to try to get around him, but for right now, it looks like you want to be in that middle to second groove, so he'll kind of dare the 51 to go to the bottom side if he so desires.
Keep in mind as well, there is a little bit of right rear damage on the back of the Trey Lapsevich's truck that is affecting a bit of that spoiler. You see it right there from some of the early battling. Now, Jackson Lewis is falling off a little bit. He's falling off to the 7s. Your leaders are in the 20.5s. That's 1 second of fall off in 20, coming up to 21 laps.
A significant amount of fall off, and that's what we were talking about earlier, that we finally moved to the big track at the quarter mile. With how much you're running under caution, you're not necessarily thinking about saving your tires, but it is going to come into play with how long this racetrack is compared to that, how much weight they've added to these cars, the extra weight that these tires are having to withstand. That is going to come into factor, and like you said, a big fall off already, as we were running 19.6s at the beginning of the runs this last time by. Your race leaders in Lapsevich mentioned Matthews, 20.71 for Trayton Lapsevich and a 6.61 for Matthews. So a big fall off here very quickly.
Taking a look at the battle for the end of the top 10, by the way. This is Michael Murray and Josh Kozik. And several drivers like Kozik are now reporting tightness. Kozik now into the backstretch wall. He drops one more spot. Dawson Fletcher moves up a spot. Now, this could factor in for this fight. Trayton Lapsevich able to fight the tightness coming off the corner. And one of the main things when Trayton Lapsevich joined Bobby Dale Legacy eSports is when the tire model changed for the Cup car. One of the things one of his team managers, Boyd Hogan, had worked on was helping him save tires because he had a very unique talent at the time for burning the right front tire at the time at Lucas Oil Raceway. It took him months to learn how to tire save. That's going to come in handy tonight.
It certainly is. With the way the tires fall off now in iRacing, you have to know how to go fast but not destroy your tires in doing that, and we'll have to see if Matthews is able to do just that. Lapsevich hanging on to the front, and as it's a 2-truck breakaway here at the front of the field, you mostly see single file throughout this field. Right now, there is a side-by-side battle. That's all the way back for the 15th position is Ryan Lapsevich. Finally he's able to get by Jake Sylvia, and now Jeffrey Eddy looking to try and be a part of that battle as well.
Josh Kozik's now pulled off the track with some issues. He's now off circuit. Jake Sylvia's truck, however, in the 78 in 1 and 2, looks like it's been demolished several times over. The right side of the truck's demolished. The front nose is crushed in. The back end's crushed in. And the right side of the truck also has some damage. Every side of that truck has some damage, as lap cars are now being reminded when the leaders reach drivers such as these that they must go low and let the leaders go when they reach and they're about a quarter track behind.
Well, would you rather them go low or go high? I think as a leader, I'd rather them go high, as now Matthews will poke his nose down to the bottom side, and this is what Lapsevich wants, I think. I think he knows that that 51 is just a hair quicker, but I think Ryan Matthews trying to do work. He's going to have to do it on the bottom. He knows Lapsevich isn't going to give him the top side, and it's going to take a lot. It's one thing to be faster than somebody, but here in the way that middle line is working, it's going to make it very difficult to try and make that pass on the bottom.
Coming up to 20 laps to go, just past halfway to reset your top 10. Trayton Lapsevich, Ryan Matthews are 1-2. They are a second ahead now of Jackson Lewis, Sam King, Dalton Collins, Oliver Cordell, your top 6. McWhorter, Austin Johnson, Dylan Bates, and Dawson Fletcher, your top 10. Bates, one of your biggest droppers of the race after starting in the pole, -8 in the race. They have now reached the lap traffic. It's Mark Humble who moves out of the way. Several cars such as these will have to deal with them pretty soon in their super trucks.
Oh boy, and man, that's just so sketchy. The driver and me, when you're coming up on lap traffic, you want them to just go high in the corners, because if they're going low, you don't know what condition they're fighting. They're obviously struggling with their race cars, so you don't know if they're going to get tight and push up the track, and I think that's what Matthews had to do. He just had to give a little more room than he wanted to, because he didn't want any contact out of that. He knows he's within the grasp of Lapsevich to try and take this race lead.
Now he has kept him right at bay. Only a few 1/1000ths of a second quicker last time. Huge set into the brakes this time. 17 laps to go. Next truck up for grabs the lap is TJ Rooker. His number 7 truck has gained a couple spots the night went on, and now he's drifting up. Driving the Tennessee Vols machine as he hugs the yellow line just out of the way. That helped Trayton Lapsevich, though.
It did on corner exit, as Matthews kind of had to not cut down and get back to the gas quite as early, checking up for that lap truck. And Justin, this is the longest run I think we've had between any of the races, the last 5 that we've called here. So 16 laps to go, and we've seen that the tires have become a part of it, but Matthews and Lapsevich are still really showing the way here. They got some more lap traffic that they're going to have to deal with here. It's certainly going to be a factor, as lap traffic will, as Eddie actually, he'll go low on the front straightaway and let these guys race it out.
Smart move there for the 88 truck. Next truck up is Ryan Lapsevich. He is just up the track in the number 12 truck. No moves yet from Matthews, waiting for the right chance to pounce in the 51 machine. To the back bumper nearly, as Ryan Lapsevich now hugs the yellow line. He moves out of the way. Trayton Lapsevich slides up. Ryan Matthews elects to back off the gas. Keeps it single file for now with 14 to go.
Well, it looks like family didn't play any favorites there, and maybe trying to help out the leader in Trayton Lapsevich, make up some time. But Lapsevich a bit loose. He's going to run the bottom now. Matthews is potentially going to have that run off corner exit, but he gets a little sideways as well. 14 laps to go, 13 now as we cross over. And will Matthews ever get that run that he needs? Lapsevich is going to have to defend high as he slides off the corner once again.
Coming up to 12 to go now. Now it's Dylan Sartain who has to move out of the way. Sartain, though, he's going middle of the racetrack in the 93 truck. He's going to give them the bottom line instead. Trayton Lapsevich hugs the line. Up into the wall goes the 93. Trayton Lapsevich a little loose off 2. Ryan Matthews again races towards the back end. 11 to go this time, and plenty of traffic could be factors here. There's a bit of contact out of 3 and 4. Ryan Matthews goes for the move.
And don't forget about Jackson Lewis. He's been just about as fast as our race leaders those last couple of laps. So if anything were to happen, you know that he would be able to pounce on him. Matthews, once again, doesn't quite have position, but he is not letting up. He's just waiting for one slight mistake. Maybe going to give a slight bump to Lapsevich. He doesn't do it this time to 3 and 4, 10 laps to go.
This has been an entertaining race, one of the best races of the evening and of the weekend so far for the All-American eSports 400. Trayton Lapsevich looking to go 4 for 5 in feature races so far in this event. Lapsevich again a bit loose coming off the corner. Matthews again elects to check up. 8 to go.
And again, Ryan Matthews stalking Trayton Lapsevich, just waiting for a mistake. Jackson Lewis has been just as fast as the leaders. Lapsevich scrapes the outside wall as he's sliding into 3. He's going to slide up the racetrack. Here comes Matthews looking for a nose under him. He's got the run, and he's going to be there as they work side by side down the front straightaway. 8 to go, and Matthews is looking to the bottom in 1 and 2.
Coming up now to 7 to go. Now Ryan Matthews on the attack. Can't get the bottom to work off turn 2. Back single file again. Lapsevich slides up to the middle line. Matthews back to the bottom line. Next car up in front is Jake Sylvia. One other lap truck can be a factor in this one. 7 now to go on the pylon.
And these fans here at the Nashville Fairgrounds are loving it. They've seen great racing like this for a number of years, but now the question comes for Matthews. He's a little bit faster. Will he move the 18 out of the way? It's been mostly clean up to this point, but you could see Matthews with the nose to the inside, going to force Lapsevich further up the racetrack than he wants to go. 51 looking for it on corner exit. He slides up. It's going to be tough to pass Lapsevich on the bottom as Matthews once again just not able to keep up there next to that yellow line.
High five coming from the flag bin, this time by 5 laps to go. Again, the Bobby Orts Legacy Esports machine of Trayton Lapsevich looking to hold on, but the Bacardi Setup Shop sponsored truck of Ryan Matthews hungry. Again to the bottom, can't again get to the inside quite yet. Coming up to 4 to go as they now reach the back end of Michael Murray, who looks to be a factor potentially here. The 114 truck just a few truck lengths up as Lapsevich scrapes the wall.
Lapsevich scrapes the wall. Oh boy, is lap traffic going to be a factor here off the exit of the corner? It's the 114. He's going to allow these guys to go as Michael Murray will pull on over. We haven't looked away from the race lead. The battle has been so good, nose to tail. They're going to come around and take 3 to go. This time by Matthews stalking, but just not able to make the move.
Track is now clear. It's between these two. No more lap traffic can be a factor in this one. Now, when does Matthews make the move into 3 and 4? Another hard send. Trayton Lapsevich defends the yellow line this time. Matthews trying to diamond it. Trying to build up a run with 2 to go.
You can see the flash bulbs going off as Matthews has a nose going into 1 and 2. Do you think he slides up and uses the door if necessary? Lapsevich is loose, but that top side so tough for Matthews to try and make a move. He'll send it in the 3 and 4. They'll come around and take it one more trip around. He's led 49 laps. Can he lead 50? 1 more to go.
White flag for the Super Trucks now at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Trayton Lapsevich leads by 1/4 of a truck length. Here comes Matthews to the inside. Lapsevich up to the top. Final set of corners. Will Matthews give the bump again? Matthews tries to build up the run. Can't get there. On the final corner, it's Trayton Lapsevich. He leads all 50 laps and wins in the Super Trucks.
And Ryan Matthews was just not able to get the run off of 2 that he needed. Justin, I believe you and I both know as racers, he was just trying to set him up for that last lap move to try and perhaps get to the back of the 32, upset his car on the very last lap in 3 and 4. Just not able to quite get there. And Lapcevich struggling there at the end, just doing enough to hang on. That it looks like qualifying made the difference like we thought it would. And what a job he does hanging on to the middle groove here in Nashville. Matthews not able to get it done on the bottom. Great race by both of those guys, very clean, and Lapcevich is your race winner.
In the top 3, given some time now to do a bit of showboating. As what a run and what an event so far for Trayden Lapcevich. He's put on a show every single event so far. He's been just 1 spot shy of getting the full sweep so far. He is your unofficial race winner by just 1/10 of a second over Ryan Matthews. Jackson Lewis rounds out the top 3 with Sam King and Dalton Collins rounding out the top 5 with Oliver Cordell in 6th. Joseph McWhorter rounds out the top 7 with Austin Johnson 8th. A rough break for your pole sitter. Spinning it on lap 1 on the bottom of the racetrack, finishes in 9th. Dawson Fletcher, your pole sitter for the super late model race tomorrow night, rounds out your top 10, 15 seconds back.
And Carden Cochran finishes up in 11th. He is the last truck to finish on the lead lap. That was the pace that our race leaders had right there towards the end. Jake Sylvia in 12th, a lap down. So it's Michael Murray who scored in the 13th position. 14th goes to Ryan Lapcevich. 15th to Jeffrey Eddy. 16th to Mark Humble. 17th goes to TJ Rucker. And then 5 laps down was Dylan Sartain in 18th. 19th goes to Josh Kosick. And the last driver to take time was Jonathan Smith, who was out early after just 2 laps. He goes to the garage and is out of the race after some terminal damage there in that early wreck. But it was the only wreck, so to speak, Justin, and I think it makes Lapcevich happy we were able to have that long run, and I'm sure he is thrilled that he was able to hold off Matthews in what was a spectacular battle to the end.
He now joins us as well in the broadcast booth. Trayden, what a battle between you and Ryan Matthews. One of the battles of the week. How does it feel to hold him off and come away now 4 of 5 in this event?
That was such a great race. Matthews ran me really clean and considering that it's just so hard to pass here. He was definitely faster for a greater part of that race. Just so hard to make a move on the bottom, and I was holding that top trying to get the drive off.
It looked like you were having a handful in those final few laps as well, because drivers across the radio were saying they were plowing tight in the mid-pack. You were looking consistent, then you started snapping loose. What was it like trying to balance out that wear to make sure that you didn't either plow up into the fence or snap loose and allow Matthews underneath again?
Yeah, these trucks were a lot of fun to drive here. A bit of a handful, but just had to get the hold of them on entry and get up off. Though I was playing with the brake bias a lot through the race, trying to get it turning on entry, because the setup started out pretty loose at the start on entry and all the way through the corner, and then it worked through a tight phase, which we ended the race with.
Yeah, that's what some of the drivers ended up sticking with to the checkered, but still, 2 more crucial events left on the schedule. First, it's the 150 lap pro late model race. That taking place tonight. The super late model race taking place tomorrow. First, your first thoughts on tonight's next event, one of the biggest of the weekend.
I did some practice earlier in the pro late model, and I had some solid speed, so it should be fun for 150 laps. And then we just finished up super late model qualifying not long ago. I think I ended up 3rd, so pretty good car for tomorrow too. So really excited for the last 2 races.
With that, anyone you want to thank for your run tonight, as once again you get to celebrate in our victory?
Yeah, I gotta thank BDE, Legacy eSport, Butt Kicker, Abruzzi, and then just everyone for putting this on. A lot of fun.
Congratulations once again on yet another win this weekend. Congrats.
Thank you.
Trayden Lapcevich continues what has been a dominant past couple of days. He had to hold off one of the best short track racers on the entire service. Ryan Matthews is with Blake McCandless.
And Ryan, oh boy, what a battle it was. It seemed like you were setting Lapsevich up for nearly 30 to 40 laps right there. What more did you need, or what was going through your mind those last couple of laps when you knew it was going to be tough to pass Lapsevich there on the bottom? Were you thinking of trying to set anything up there on the last lap?
Yeah, it was a really fun race, probably the most fun I've had in a while. And, you know, with this track and setup, I guess it's kind of hard to pass on the bottom with it being so tight. So I just had to be smart. You know, I think I did have a better car. We actually compared our tires after the race, and I had like 4% more on the right front. So that helped me have a little bit more cut in the center and get a better drive off. And I was able to get under there a few times, but you just can't do anything on the inside. And you know, I was just thinking to myself that, you know, this race isn't for anything but bragging rights. And, you know, I don't move people to win races. That's not how I am. So, I tried my best. I kept on setting them up and all that, but just came a tenth short at the end.
Well, I mean, it was good to see it. Obviously, we know how clean you were, and it was a very hard-fought battle there. But what do you think made you better on that long run? Obviously, you were able to run Lapsevich down from a bit of a gap and then basically stay there throughout the race. Was there anything that maybe you saw you were running lower, or maybe just, I don't know, explain how you think maybe that that tire difference kind of worked in your favor, where maybe you had a little more tire than what Trayton was doing?
Yeah, so the first 10 or so laps, I was just scanning track position. We qualified fifth actually. And I was making a pass for second on the outside, and the car was just so tight in the center. So once I got clear of him, I was just kind of watching Trayton and seeing what he was doing. And ended up just running his line basically, and then ran him down. And then I kind of noticed I could feel the right front starting to burn off really quick. So I knew that if I had slowed the car down more in the center and then slammed in the throttle harder, it would use less right front and more right rear. And I think that's where I got an advantage over Trayton, is, you know, I don't think he was doing that as much as me. And it just gave me that little extra tire at the end. So he was trying lines pretty much every lap when I was in front of him, just trying to find something different, a little bit better. But I think I had the preferred line, and just figured out how to use throttle and brake control and save the right front a little bit more.
Well, Ryan, a well-deserved second place for you. Obviously, hoped you could go one spot better, but nevertheless put on a great show for these fans. But I'll throw you the mic one more time. Anybody you need to give a shout-out to? I know you're running with some McConey Setup Shop colors on the truck, but anybody else you need to give it to, mic's all yours.
Yeah, like you said, I got to thank McConey Setup Shop for paying my way in tonight. And appreciate that a lot. You know, they have some really good setups. So anyone new getting into iRacing or just wants a fast setup to run competitive in the Open Series, go check them out. And I got to thank my dad at SLM Auto Service, Carbon Racing Solutions, for all their support. My real life sponsors, Denise Matthews Real Estate, Pembleton Forest Products, James River Nurseries, and Mechanicsville Paint and Body Shop, and obviously all of y'all at Podium Esports and William Hale for putting this on.
Well, we appreciate it, Ryan. Congratulations on your second place run, and throughout this week, we'll continue to keep an eye on you.
Thank you, man.
All right, that's Ryan Matthews. He finishes up in second, and we'll bring in the third and final interviewee for this race. It's Jackson Lewis. He brings it up third, and he's caught up with Justin Prince.
Yes, indeed. First things first, Jackson dropped off, unfortunately, in the final 10-15 laps of this one, from being on the back bumper of the cars in front to 2 seconds behind. How was that truck in the final few laps of this one in the Bills machine?
Tight. I don't know. Just one turn. I was on the front bumper or the back bumper of those guys for a while there, and just hanging with them. Thought I had something for them maybe at the end, but it just, as soon as the right front went away, it just went away and never could get it back. I don't know. It was a pretty good machine. Faster than the guys behind me, but slower than the guys in front of me, so just monkey in the middle.
when it came to that balance as well, it was talked about by Trent Lapsevich a little bit, that handling. What was it like trying to find the right balance to make sure you exit the corners well here? Because you make one mistake, you're like the drivers who are in the teens who are smacking the walls.
Yeah, it was tough. 3 and 4, I tried to go up high and come off on the bottom, but no matter what you did, it was just really tight, so I ended up just diving on the bottom, getting a little loose coming up off, but I don't know. It was just fine in 1 and 2, just 3 and 4 is just really difficult to get a handle on.
Indeed. Now, still, a couple more races on the cards, including one tonight. Overall, your approach for the next couple of events, whether tonight's 150 lapper or the 250 lap main event.
Yeah, I think we're gonna load up the Pearl 8 tonight and just take her back home. Don't think I'm gonna run tonight, but tomorrow, focus up. We got 20. We're starting 21st. Didn't have the best qualifying effort that I really wanted to have, so we got a lot of work to do. Focus on that and just see what we can do. Maybe win some money tomorrow.
Wait and see. Thank you very much for the time. Anybody want to thank real quick?
Yeah, I just got to thank all the boys at Hashtag Pay the Bills. They are the guys.
Who are the guys, quote unquote?
Oh gosh, I can name them off quick. Jason Hogan, Robert Arch, Derek Kraus, Michael Ostick, Michael Beamish, Alex Crapser, Riley Stenjum, me, Cody Hubrid, Nick Priest, Mason Diaz. There's probably a lot more, but all those guys, they're what keep me going, I suppose.
That is a lot of big names, both in iRacing and in real life in recent months. Congratulations on the night, and good luck working with a lot of those drivers, including Derek Kraus in the truck series in real life.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's get Jackson Lewis, P3. Some star-studded teammates there for Pay the Bills. Everyone's going to keep an eye on that at this point, but Blake, your thoughts on this super truck race tonight?
Well, I think this is what the fans paid to see. A great battle that spanned for roughly the entire race. You saw 2 drivers that obviously were very fast and the 2 best on the night battle it out and have the opportunity to go after the win. And, we did it hard and we did it clean. And, for a race fan like me, that's exactly what you want to see is 2 guys put it all on the line and go after it here on a short track. And obviously, Lapsevich, a stellar job to be able to hang on, but a nice job by everybody in this field. It's a big difference from what we saw last night, basically going from about lap 5 to the end, completely under the green flag, and it let us see that amazing battle. So hats off to all these guys, and I hope we see more racing like this when we get to the late model side of things.
Speaking of which, take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have that side of the card coming up. You're watching the All-American Esports 400. It's night 2 for the virtual Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway and Podium Esports. Stick around.
to prove it, I'm ready to do it, I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now, I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top. I'm ready to do this, show you what the truth is. I step on the field, it's time to get real, I'm feeling so ruthless. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Yeah. So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made up. Get in the game, your moment of fame, show them what you made of. It's time that we stand up, it's time that we man up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up. My time, nothing can keep me from reaching the top. This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to rise. I'm ready to throw down, it's time for the showdown. I'm ready to rise, don't be surprised, I'll take on the world now. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We're reaching the top, we're reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We're reaching the top, we're reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up, I'll never go back down. Hand over my heart, I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
Welcome back to the virtual Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway for coverage of Night 2 of the All-American eSports 400. As it's time to get ready to go pro late model racing. It's the 150 lap feature live on Podium eSports. Justin Prince alongside Blake McCann with Ryan Bauer in the director's seat. Production trailer powered by Top Flight Computers. Thank you for tuning in, whether you're watching live on Facebook, iRacing Live, Twitch, YouTube, or on Twitter tonight. It's been an entertaining night so far, and it's been one event that's taken months of preparation to get ready and get right. Joining us now in the broadcast booth, one of the drivers who just so happens to also be the one-time Rookie of the Year at this track and the main organizer for this event, William Hale. William, a lot of work has come into preparation for this event. How are you feeling now seeing it finally in action for these past couple days?
I feel me to be 1,000,000% honest. If you'd asked me that question last night, I'd be freaking out. Tonight, we've had a really good show so far. That's my 100% honest opinion. The truck race was awesome. I'm sure you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I hope everybody at home enjoyed it. McConey Setup Shop did a really awesome job putting that truck together for these guys to drive. Everybody loved the truck. They said it was a ton of fun. They're saying the same thing about the Pro Late model. And when these guys are having fun, I'm having fun. They produce good racing. I knew they had the talent last night. A lot of these guys are actually the same guys, believe it or not. It's a night and day difference. They really put it together, and it's not me putting it together. These drivers and you guys and everybody, that you guys and the drivers have put this together. It isn't just me. The racetrack helped out a ton with this. McConey Setup Shop, like I said, building the setups helped me out a ton. It saved me a ton of time, and quite frankly, I didn't have any more time. The racetrack helped out a lot putting this together. They were 100,000,000% behind putting this together. Scott Minlin, Randy Dice, Zach Heiser, everybody was really, really helpful putting this together. Paradigm Multimedia, Aaron's a great guy. He helped me out a ton with all the design work, everything. It was really awesome. And all you guys watching at home, you guys are what we do this for, and I'm really happy for everybody tuning in and enjoying this, and I hope you all are enjoying this a whole heck of a lot, because I'm race controlling this, and this has been a blast to watch the truck race, and this is a 150 lap Pro Late model coming up. These guys are going to be on the same set of tires the whole race. It's going to get tight, it's going to get loose, it's going to do this, it's going to do that, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
That leads into the next questions here. Of course, these drivers, it's a little bit different compared to the main super late model race tomorrow night, where yes, it's the same body type, but it does have the 150-pound weight penalty, 5% less power, and as mentioned, no tire changes. Overall, how would you describe how these cars feel and how they would drive around this track, especially to make sure you don't lose your tires in this event?
Well, we also changed the gear, Justin. We made the gear to where it turns of the average of the actual real life Steel Alliance motors with the Ford and the Chevrolet crate motors. So we turn it, the car is actually geared to turn 6,400 at the end of the straightaway. Which with iRacing we were able to really change the gears around and make it to where we could do that. So that's going to be something else. It's not just the power; it's just the rear tires. I don't think are going to fall off this car. It's really going to be the front tires. It's going to get tight towards the end of the race, and if the guys are burning up the tires, they're going to get really tight. That's the bottom line. The only thing to do when you get tight is slow down. Yeah, on the same set of tires, the key to really saving tires here in both real life and in the sim really is going to be back out early, back up your corner really good, get a straight shot up off. That's how it is in real life, and I've driven this car. I just practiced a couple laps to have some fun with these guys. They were having so much fun without me, I had to go out and run. It feels just like a real crate car, kind of a tighter crate car, but I feel like late in the race when the rear tire does burn off, it's going to be perfect. McConey and all those guys know what they're doing, and I have faith in them.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit in some of the preparation and work put in with the track, with the organizers, with the drivers. How much pressure was there for this event overall, especially to make sure that everything went off just right, especially tonight, be going off very, very well, to say the very least so far?
Now, don't go jinx it, Justin. Come on now. No, it was a ton of pressure, especially after last night coming into tonight. Last night I apologize to the fans. It wasn't what it should have been, but it's quarter mile racing. At the end of the day, I know we had some unhappy people, and then we had some happy people. And I was just really more sad it ran so late, so everybody couldn't see it. Everybody was really tired. It was stressful putting this all together all week. I've been pulling my hair out, trying to make sure everything's perfect. Bowers really helped me out a ton. All the guys at Podium, really, with you, Justin, and Blake, and thanks to Zach last night. I know he's not here tonight, but stepping up a whole bunch. I didn't get to tell him before he left. I was dealing with some after the race altercations, but and Daryl Palmore come through, and he's helped me race direct tonight. It's been a really, really big deal. Everybody has really put in a ton of work. Like I said, it's not just me. You guys are giving me more credit than I deserve. I feel like a lot of people have put this together, and a lot of people have put in a lot of work. And the pressure was immense for me at the end of the day, but I feel like seeing the truck race has made all this worth it. The MX-5 race wasn't bad either. The front runner is going to be a staple next year for sure.
Absolutely. Of course, tomorrow night, 250 laps, 400 miles on the docket, minimum $150 prize on the line as well. What should drivers expect to see and fans expect to see for that main event overall to cap things off by tomorrow evening?
By tomorrow evening, you're going to see some of the best late model racing on iRacing between tonight and tomorrow. That's what you should expect. Tonight, this is the first 150 of the 400 lap All-American 400, so you're going to run 150 tonight, 250 tomorrow, between a pro and a super. The real life event, the 36th annual All-American 400, is a 100 lap pro late model and 300 lap super late model. I'm partial to pro late models. That's the only reason it changed. It was just a little bit better format for the sim world to run 150 and 250, and that's the only difference between us and the real show right now. So
gotcha.
Which reminds me, if you don't have your tickets for next weekend, go get your tickets. It's going to be one of the best real life late model shows of the year. And Friday night, they're running the whole quarter mile division that you saw last night. We were only missing one division last night, and that was the pure stocks. iRacing doesn't have a 1970 Monte Carlo yet, so we got to work on that. But yeah, I've been really happy with it so far, like I said, Justin. And again, thanks to you guys. You guys are knocking it out of the park and making us look way better than we deserve, I'm pretty sure.
Of course, real quickly with the real world event as well, I believe you're actually on the entry list for that as well. And how big is an event such as this, not just prepare, but as well have the feel for the track and have the virtual counterpart before you're able to get to the real world track for next week?
Well, thanks to the COVID and everything else going on in the world, iRacing's been a very big tool for us since Nashville's come out. We can't go test like we want to due to the restrictions that we've been put under, and iRacing's done a perfect job. I know I haven't really shouted them out a whole lot, but iRacing did a perfect job with this racetrack. It looks exactly like it should. Every bump's where it should be. Every crack, every nook, everything is exactly where it should be. The only thing is I don't see enough open trailers out here. I see more stackers than open trailers. That's the only difference. But you know, it's really cool to have our local track on iRacing again, or on iRacing, in a video game made by Papyrus again. We haven't been able to run on Nashville since NR 2003, so it's been really cool so far. I'm telling you, I know you guys talked about it last night. The billboards, even the billboards are exact. A couple of the available sponsorship ones got covered, but everything's pretty exact. It feels just like the real deal, and I've been really pumped about it ever since Nashville's come out. And I've practiced at Nashville on iRacing and went to Nashville the next day and haven't missed a beat. So iRacing did a really awesome job, and I cannot thank everybody enough at iRacing for giving us this racetrack. As a Nashville native, this has been an awesome experience to finally have our track on iRacing, and it's been a good time.
In reference, by the way, to the Papyrus portion, this track was used as part of a Grand National expansion pack back for NASCAR Racing 2, all the way back from the late 1990s, mind you. It was later converted for NASCAR 4, NASCAR 2002, and NR 2003. But I believe you have some drivers waiting to get ready to go racing. Anything you want to add before you let you get going?
Just thanks to everybody that really helped put this event together. That's where I'm at. I'm so thankful that this come together the way it was. 4 months ago, this was just supposed to be me and some buddies getting together and having a good time at our home track, and it's become a lot more of that now. We're racing for some money tomorrow, and we're racing for pride more than anything tonight. But these are all really competitive guys. They want to win as bad as anything, and I really wish I was out there with them, but putting together the event is more important. And you know, I'm really happy with everybody supporting this racetrack. Everybody's done 110% for me, and I'm trying to put out a good product for everybody, and I feel like we've done that for the most part. And I can't thank these drivers enough for coming out and supporting this event. Hopefully next year we'll have even more, and the year after that, and the year after that. But it's been a really good time so far. I'm enjoying it.
Thank you very much for the time, William. We'll let you get back to race control and for preparation for the rest of the night. Good luck and congratulations so far. What's been a good event so far?
Thanks, guys. Keep up the good work.
Will do. That's William Hale once again joining us from Race Control tonight. A heck of preparation was put in for this virtual counterpart. As mentioned, the real world counterpart taking place next week. Tickets can be found at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway.racing or on Facebook. Go to Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway and follow them on Twitter, Race Fairgrounds. Now, Blake, still preparation coming in together now here for tonight. Many of the drivers who just competed in the Super Trucks race getting ready to hit the track here for qualifying. Your thoughts on how these cars will drive here when the green flag flies in just about 5-10 minutes from now?
Well, I think they're going to drive well, Justin. I think because kind of we had a little bit of this downtime, the drivers have gotten a lot more practice in just before the drop of the green flag for this race than they did for the Super Truck division. And also, this is something that they've been doing all night. Obviously, they were practicing and qualifying earlier tonight for the All-American 400 main event tomorrow night. But we're running the same super late models, albeit much different setup, different different weight penalties and everything that's assigned here to try and recreate, obviously, what you would see on Saturday night next weekend. So they are running a bit slower, probably about just a hair over 3 seconds off of what they were running in the super late models earlier as far as iRacing is concerned. So I think aside from, it's probably going to be a lot tighter than what we'll see in the super late models tomorrow night. Obviously, you take that pace, you slow it way down. You're bogging the car down a lot more. You're not just kind of flying through the corners and hoping to hang on. So I think conserving that right front, we heard that as a theme in the super trucks. I think that'll come into play as well. And then obviously you look at the amount of laps that we have to run tonight, fellas. 150 laps compared to the 50 laps that we just saw. And of course, they can't take tires for the entirety of the event. So tire wear is going to be so important for these guys.
By the way, 5 minutes to set just one qualifying lap. So you talk about one-shot qualifying. If you have a crash or scrape the wall here, you will not be able to set a time. Michael Murray is P3, for example. Joseph McWhorter is up at the top of the board with a 17.966 in total. Up to 22 drivers expected to take the green flag for this one, with Austin Johnson to the top of the board at 17.9. Several drivers will be making their only appearance for the first 2 evenings outside of super late model qualifying. Brad Wright, one of the drivers to keep an eye on in the 48, for example.
We'll definitely have to watch him and the rest of our drivers click along. And by the way, watching Brad Wright, you see on your screen, he goes to the top of the board, 7.97 right now, 2/10 quicker nearly than what he ran in practice. Of course, we were running in practice in a bit brighter conditions. We move forward the same time, and we'll even do it as you've seen throughout the weekend for the race. We'll be running under the lights. Again, just one of the unique capabilities of iRacing to be able to jump even times in the sim to where it'll match real life. Oh, you see a spinner right there up against the wall. That's the 12 of Ryan Lapsevich. Unfortunately, not going to be able to put a qualifying time down there, so he'll have to work his way up from the tail end of the field. Trayton Lapsevich trying to get off the pit lane, get off the pit road right now, work his way down the back straightaway to get his lap time up.
He's looking to extend what's been a dominant weekend so far. He is 4 for 5 in feature races, and a P2 is his worst finish so far. Seen him prepare with tires as now he looks to try and put in that one quick lap for qualifying. His brother is a part of the main festivities for that 36th annual All-American 400 next weekend. He put a 17.8 in practice. It's a 17.804, even quicker though. Not as quick though as Brad Wright.
When it seems like that's been the case for Lapsevich all night long. Hasn't necessarily been on the pole in some of the races that we've seen, but he's always been in the top 2 or 3 far enough forward, especially with as long of a race, again, as we're getting for this one, to be up front and be competitive. We see Ryan Matthews right there. He had a good shot to win the Super Truck event. He will click on, and actually, let's see where he is on the board. He is 3rd as he clocks in a 17.856. So Matthews and Lapsevich, once again, your top 2 from last race. They're 2 of the top 3 spots on the podium here in qualifying.
Among the drivers now on track, Ryan Lapsevich, who has crashed twice already. Sam King, Dylan Bates, also currently trying to set an official time. Taking a look at Sam King, about 116 plus miles an hour at the stripe at 17.923 will be his time. Ryan Lapsevich puts up a P12, while Dylan Bates is now up to speed in the 91, and he was quick in qualifying for the super late models earlier tonight and in the super trucks before, well, he spun from lap 1 on the pole. He nearly spins it off at turn 4, and it's an 18 flat, an 11th place run for him.
He's able to get it done, and again, a much shorter qualifying session than what we have, so we're ticking along. You see 5 minutes and 50 seconds, but that's on a 10-minute clock, so we'll get just about 45 seconds left for these drivers to try and get their qualifying times in for tonight. I think there's only a handful of drivers that have gone. We haven't seen Dawson Fletcher. Again, he was your pole winner for the main event tomorrow night, single car qualifying. He was the top of the board. He has yet to make make a qualifying lap just yet, but he's making his way out onto the racetrack now. Let's see if he's got another pole time in him as the laps are winding down. I actually don't know if he's going to get a lap time in. He crossed the line at a 5:17 left on the clock. He's got to run about an 18-second lap time, so he waited till the very last second to get the line. Let's hope he gets it in time.
This is going to be tight. Could come down to a couple tenths of a second at the stripe. Dawson Fletcher gets it in time, right at the buzzer, and 18 flat.
Oh, boy, was that close.
That will put him in P12 as we now get ready to go racing under the lights with the help of the flashbulbs. In sim time, 8:45. It's time to take a look at your starting grid. It's the Pro Late Model Race. One of the biggest events of the All-American eSports 400, all set to go with Brad Wright starting for the pole tonight. Trayden Lapsovich will start on the outside front row with Ryan Matthews, Sam King inside row 2. Row 3 features Oliver Cordell. He's been quick all weekend. He'll start alongside Dalton Collins with Austin Johnson and Joseph McMortar rounding out the top 8. Josh Kozik had a really rough race for the Super Trucks. He'll start alongside Jake Sylvia inside the top 10.
It'll be Dylan Bates that rolls off from the inside of row number 6. To his outside will be the pole sitter for tomorrow night, but he rolls off 12th after just getting his lap in the nick of time. He'll start 12th. That is Dawson Fletcher. 13th will go to Michael Murray. 14th to Ryden Lapsovich. 15th starting spot goes to Jonathan Smith. 16th will be TJ Rooker. Row 9 is made up by Carden Cochran and Robert Duria. 19th goes to Tommy Johnson. He was the last driver to pull a qualifying time. And then, of course, you have a couple of guys. Of course, William Hale doing race control. But Mark Humble will start in the 20th position. And if we can get them out on the grid, I believe 21st will go to Dylan Sartain if he's able to make his way out there. The rest of those drivers on the grid listed, they are on race control. So that'll do it here for the full field rundown as we're going to go ahead and look forward to 150 laps under the lights.
Let's take a look at your preview for tonight. Again, Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, just above a mile, just under 1 kilometer, 18 degrees of banking around this racetrack, 3 degrees down the straightaways. In sim day, October the 31st, 2020, just past 8:45 p.m. in sim time. Drivers will be racing for 150 laps. That's 85 miles, 137 kilometers for the first portion of the All-American eSports 400. Weather conditions, 71 degrees is the air temp, 72 the track temp, a little bit hotter from before, with the winds going to the east this time at 8 miles an hour, humidity a bit lower at 49% for these drivers. Again, in total, making to the grid, 20 drivers. No tire changes available for these competitors. And again, no faster pairs. iRacing rules in effect for this one. This is going to be an interesting one here, Blake. Your keys to victory for this one, because remember, if there's no tire changes, this could get tricky for the tires themselves.
It really could, and you don't need an early incident. You don't need to light up your tires or spin out or have any issues going forward, because, of course, you're going to have to pay for the rest of the race. And when we were talking about weather, Justin, I think that's one of the unique things, one of the most unique things that iRacing has introduced with dynamic weather, that when you talk about, well, you can set the date in sim to exactly what it'll be tomorrow night. The sunset, the way it comes up, the way it goes down, the time that it sets, the angle that it sets, because obviously it changes from summer to fall. Everything is exact to what it would be next week, Saturday night, in real life. So you just love it. Even how dark it is right now, that's exactly what it's going to be next week. So just amazing to see how realistic iRacing can get. But what a jump here for Lapsovich as we're going to get the green for 150 laps.
Brad Wright caught sleeping and then some. Restart under review for obvious reasons. Brad Wright to second, and Brad Wright's getting turned. Nearly spun around. Another save by Oliver Cordell. Sam King nearly spun it as well. Multiple others on the apron. It's Trayden Lapsovich in the lead by now, nearly a second from all that craziness.
Well, and we know the Lapsevich has been cutting it oh so close throughout the weekend on restarts, but I think that one, Justin, may be one that race control may just pull the trigger and display the black flag for. He went awfully early, got a great jump, but as much as he has been getting good jumps this weekend, I think that may have been just a little bit too far. So we'll have to see if he's going to be displayed the black flag. If he is, we're going to go to Ryan Matthews for the race lead, but if not, obviously Lapsevich is pulled out to about a 6 or 7 car length lead here on lap number 4.
Can confirm race control has cleared Trayden Lapsevich. The restart line for the night is the white line coming out of turn 4. Lapsevich had waited right at that line. However, Wright was caught sleeping at the line, and now as a result, Wright, with the help of contact as well, is in P9 because of his botch start of this one. That's currently in the middle of a choo-choo train that includes Jake Sylvia, Josh Kozik, Sam King in front.
And that is true, and you see something that is much different than what the trucks were with these Pro Late models and how much more speed they are carrying up here. I think, one, it'll make it more difficult on the bottom, but it also obviously opens up a little bit more of that second groove to come and play. You're kind of straddling the white hash marks through 1 and 2, and you see a bunch of cars that are all the way over completely into the second lane here. You see Austin Johnson, he's doing that as well through 3 and 4. He's running all the way up high. And so are plenty of drivers here. There's so much speed to carry through in these cars, and they're running a little bit higher as a result.
Now keep in mind how things could fare for these competitors. This has been an entertaining one so far. Ryan Matthews is up to second. Dalton Collins, Joseph McWhorter, Austin Johnson. Very, very close with how they are faring so far.
All running nose to tail, and McWhorter has quickly worked his way up, started all the way back in 8th, and has found himself up into 4th in relatively short order. That big checkup that happened on the back straightaway did not slow up that Dodge very much, and he is trying as much as he can to try and even move forward, try to get up to 3rd here, catch Dalton Collins down the back straightaway.
Yes, indeed. This is all what Trayden Lapsevich continues to take off. The thing is, though, he is starting to trade times with the car behind him by 6/10. Ryan Matthews in the McConaughey Setup Shop sponsor machine. This is all while drivers like Dawson Fletcher and company are running 19.2s already in the middle of the field.
19.2s, but they are running about 18.5s up front, so a big split in strategy here. And again, this is going to be a very, very long race, so you may think that's a huge time difference, and obviously it is, but with the amount that we've heard that tires matter here, the added weight compared to what you would typically run in these cars in the iRacing service, we could see where tires really become a factor, because this is 3 times as long as any race we've run here this weekend. So we'll just have to see as Lapsevich holds on up front. Matthews has started to reel him in just a bit.
Yeah, he is now running about a 10th and a half quicker a lap, and keep in mind, there's a reason Ryan Matthews is the points leader in the super late models in the Cars eSport Tour. He knows how to save tires. He knows how to be quick on the long run. He also knows how to find anything setup-wise, of course. Fixed open sets tonight. But that knowledge comes into play on how the car could react when you run a race such as this.
It certainly could. You have to take everything into consideration, and again, just new challenges for these drivers that'll be running this long of a race. We see the leaders have kind of worked their way back to the bottom side of the racetrack after running in about that second lane for the first 5 laps or so. We've seen running a little bit lower on the track, and again, this is, I think, a move where you want to run a little bit lower, and just the way the tire reacts here in iRacing, certain tracks, obviously you run lower, it's going to save your tires a little bit better.
Trouble front stretch. Robert Durya is around. First caution of the night for the Pro Late models. The 42 now off the track. Tommy Johnson was also involved. And we're already under yellow on lap 16.
Well, and it looks like we had some issues here in the back of the pack that really all started with Tommy Johnson, who was running right in front of the 42. You see they're getting racy here as they work down the back straightaway. This was a battle for about 19th, but you see Johnson gets loose. He's tight, and oh, he gets right into the wall. Unfortunately, nowhere for the 00. That's TJ Rooker to go. So all three of these cars, pretty significant damage. You got to imagine the toes definitely knocked out for the 53. 42 has some pretty significant right rear damage. That could have hurt the suspension on his race car. And then Rooker, you could just see he had absolutely nowhere to go. He was just an innocent bystander that the wreck happened right in front of him off the exit of the corner. Nowhere for him to take his race car. So under caution flag number 1 all the way back here in 18th, and these guys got scrappy for it. And I believe for Duria and perhaps Johnson, they may have to put their car back in the trailer after that one.
At the very least, it's going to take a few minutes to put them on the tow truck. Again, being discussed. Those drivers will not get penalties since they're already in pit lane for a car damage. That caution came at the right time, though. For Dalton Collins, we had seen just at that moment that he was a bit in trouble. We'll take a quick side-by-side, talk a little bit more about that and more in just a moment. You're watching Podium Esports for coverage of the All-American Esports 400.
Attention race fans, it's the biggest show of the year, Friday through Sunday, October 30th through November 1st at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. 6 fast-paced divisions of racing on the quarter mile Friday night, pole qualifying and 4 big feature events Saturday night, and the 36 All-American 400 on Sunday afternoon. Racing starts at 7 Friday, 5:30 Saturday, and 1 o'clock Sunday. Tickets available at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway.racing or at the gate on race day. The 36 All-American 400 weekend, Friday, October 30th through Sunday, November 1st.
Welcome back to Podium Esports' coverage of the All-American Esports 400. It's night 2. It's the Pro Late Model feature race, the first portion of the 400 laps on the docket overall when you combine it with tomorrow's Super Late Model race. Of course, the rear world event, as just seen, October 30th to November the 1st, with some of the drivers you see here, in fact, taking part in some of the festivities, whether it's on the quarter-mile track or whether it's for this Pro Late Model race or whether it's some of the family members in the case of your leader, Caden Lapsevich, the brother of Traden Lapsevich. And for more information, go to Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway.racing or search Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway on Facebook or follow them on @Race Fairgrounds on Twitter today. Under caution, 130 to go this time by Justin Prince, Blake McCandless, Ryan Bauer in the director's seat for tonight. Already, at least one driver is out. Robert Duria has been able to get back on track with a tow. He is several laps down, however, after a crash on lap 16. Your thoughts early on in this one, as we've seen Dalton Collins, for example, lose 2 positions in one corner. He nearly knocked the wall down prior to the caution.
You know, I really think, Justin, that these drivers that were running about 5th on back, that you mentioned the deep disparity in lap times, I don't think that was by accident. I think a lot of these drivers back here were expecting a couple of cautions like this to happen. Of course, a 150-lap race, so very unlikely that we would see this thing all the way to the end green. But if you take that time, go a little bit slower, you save your tires, you bunch it back up here, you have the advantage in these situations. We'll have to see how hard these guys want to push throughout the night, but I like some of the guys like Johnson, Collins, King that were running back here that maybe they're just trying to save their tires a little bit. But Lapsevich, he likes it out front. It's the best seat in the house. And Matthews trying to pounce here on the exit of 2.
Why Matthews had said it was hard to pass before. Traden Lapsevich had also hinted at that. Both of them are drifting a little bit in 3 and 4. Trouble in turn 3. Jonathan Smith brings out the caution flag. We're back in our yellow. TJ Rooker also involved in losing several seconds as a result. And we're back in our yellow and quickly.
It looks like it was just a check up there on the back straightaway. You saw some door contact between Ryden Lapsevich and Dylan Bates. It all happened right in front of Jonathan Smith. He checks up for that incident, and it looks like Cordell was trying to pounce on it. He didn't check up for it. He kind of catches the door, the 23, who kind of noses it in the wall. And then once again, TJ Rooker trying to go high to miss that accident. He has nowhere to go again. He thought the cars were going to travel up the racetrack and kind of just plows right into that, thinking that 23 would come on down. So unfortunate for Rooker, more damage on that machine, and it takes what would have been kind of an innocent spin there for Jonathan Smith and gives him some heavy damage on his Dodge Challenger as well.
That's the second hard hit to the front nose for the 00 in about 5-6 laps alone. I'm surprised that car is still chugging along after some of the contact. That will also bring Smith to the pit lane. But end of longest line given to Cordell Cologne, or over Cordell rather, I should rather say, as a result for that incident. By the way, setup for tonight's race provided by McCuddy Setup Shop. McCuddy Setup Shop is your home for iRacing setups. From short track racing to Class A intermediates, McCuddy Setup Shop has it all. If you aren't already running a McCuddy Setup Shop setup, you're probably losing to someone who is. For more information, visit McCuddySetupShop.com. Very fitting that the McCuddy Setup Shop machine that is sponsored rather by that car is in second spot after starting in third. Also right behind him is Austin Johnson. They're among your fastest cars in the first early portions of this one. For Johnson, it's already a +4 from 7th.
And that's right, Johnson. We talked about that it could be difficult to pass. It obviously gets harder the further you move forward, but Johnson has done a really, really nice job of picking his way through the field. We also have, of course, McWhorter, who's moved up just as many positions. Brad, right on your screen right there. He was the opposite, started in the race lead and has fallen back a little bit to where everybody is running right now. So, yeah, I do think that Johnson has been on the charge early on, but again, as we continue to wind down, and just like our races earlier, caution laps here, we're going to keep rolling them on by. We're not going to have caution laps that don't count in this one. So no matter what, we'll just continue to click them on by. Is Lapsevich going to take the one to go here? And we'll have to see. He's been awfully aggressive on these restarts, and I think Matthews knows that. I think everybody has seen how good Lapsevich has been at taking off on these restarts, and I think he's probably taught him a thing or two by this point to try and see if they can't get a jump of their own.
See how this start goes. Again, Treyton Lapsevich made his NASCAR Pinty Series debut in 2020. Also runs the APC United Late Model Series with this type of chassis, where he's been a contender for the championship the past couple seasons. He's on the gas with Ryan Matthews to his outside. We're backing away. Treyton Lapsevich looking to get clear into turn one. No, Matthews keeps it on the quarter panel. Bit of a squeeze. Good run by Matthews up the corner. Treyton Lapsevich forced off the gas. It's Matthews now, able to charge high on the top side. Looking to get clear for the race lead off of turn 4. Yes, he does, to the race lead.
And Matthews is able to get it done and it seems like he's been chasing Lapsevich now into both races. Oh, and a huge crash here in turn 2.
Several cars spinning. Dalton Collins involved. Also involved is a good portion of the top 10. And we're back in our yellow. I believe it's Joseph McWhorter who first went around that triggered all the carnage. Austin Johnson also apologizing for the contact and the checkup effect that triggered it.
It was, and I think it was a case of both McWhorter and Austin Johnson kind of fighting for the same real estate. McWhorter was on the high side, and Johnson just kind of drifted into the corner and just kind of tagged him here. You see, as they were running side by side, we had the battle for the race lead up in front going on between Ryan Matthews and Lapsevich. You see the 13, just like Matthews was able to do, utilizing that middle to second groove, gets the run off the corner here in 4, and it looks like he's about clear of Johnson as they work into turn 1, and it looks like just rolling through the center. Johnson just gets in the back of him, and we heard that Johnson apologized, and obviously he took full responsibility for that, but you see how up front it was. Ooh, a big hit there for Cossack, I believe, that barrels down to the inside retaining wall. So a huge wreck right there because it started in about the 3rd position, but yeah, you see drifting up and just rolling through the center. Johnson's just able to tag him. You see it from Duria. He gets into the back of Cordell as he saw the smoke, but kind of charged right into it, and that's gonna damage up a couple of these cars here.
Kajik also spun around there, having to get damage repair under this caution flag. As a result of that, Inns has lost a lap. Brad Wright was also spun around. As mentioned, Dalton Collins was sent around. Several cars with significant damage. Here's another look here. This is with Josh Kozik. He was right behind Brad Wright in the checkup. It's gonna be okay, right to about here. That's his teammate Ryden.
Yeah, that was Ryan Lapsevich right there. And again, a long list of cars that were involved in this one. Obviously, Dalton Collins is involved. McWhorter was in it. You had Lapsevich, as you were alluding to right there. Cossack, who gets tagged in that. Oliver or Cordell, you could say that he was involved in that incident as well. And even a couple more as they were trying to miss it back here. Even Jonathan Smith got tagged and got a little bit of damage in that as well. So it was relatively clean and green for our pro truck races, but these pro late models have proven a little tricky here with, again, our race leader, our pole sitter from the get-go. Brad Wright had some issues on lap 1, and you see an issue for lap 3. It's going to damage a lot of race cars out here.
Take a quick side-by-side. You're watching Night 2 of the All-American eSports 400 is the pro late model race. 150 laps on the docket for the virtual Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. You're watching Podium eSports.
At McConey Setup Shop, we offer custom-built setups for any asphalt oval car. Prices starting at just $5. Weekly setups available for all Legends, late models, modifieds, and NASCAR trucks, Xfinity, and Cup cars. Do you need one-on-one driver coaching? We've got you covered. Visit www.McConeySetupShop.com and find yourself in Victory Lane. McConey Setup Shop, handling all your setup needs so you don't have to.
Back live on Podium eSports. As we're about to get back underway with 116 laps to go, it's the McConey Setup Shop sponsor machine of Ryan Matthews in control of the field for the first time tonight. Trey Lapsevich on the outside. We're back underway. Justin Pritz, Blake McCandless with you. Ryan Bauer in the director's seat for tonight's action as Matthews looks to run away. The words from the cockpit. The first word specifically, woo. Matthews looking to woo the crowd as he runs away through 3 and 4.
And he's able to do so as he gets another great restart. He learned a thing or two from Lapsevich early on in the night. He gets about a car length ahead of Traden Lapsevich right now. Sam King, how about him, who's worked his way all the way back up into the 3rd spot? He was kind of a part of that initial checkup, if you want to call it that, on lap 1. He drifted back a couple of spots. He's worked up into 3rd. And how about Michael Murray, all the way back from the 13th starting position? He has worked his way up into 4th, and he's got a nice little battle with Ryan Lapsevich going on right now for P4.
Ryan Lapsevich has been getting some racing opportunities in recent months. He now tries to take it away. He's telling him to let him on go out of turn 4 and does. Nearly smacked the wall while doing so, however. That was very close for the 114. That lost him about a couple seconds as a result. They're 2 seconds behind your leader.
Yeah, that battling definitely does a lot to slow these cars down. They're still banging doors back here in the pack. Carden Cochran is stuck right now on the outside line, as well as Dawson Fletcher, who are trying to do their best to hold on here. Cochran all the way to about the 4th lane, running through 1 and 2. Oh man, he nearly got tagged by Oliver Cordell, who's trying to march up through on the bottom side.
Great scrap amongst these drivers. Again, at the back end of the top 10, double wide, 3-4 rows deep. Austin Johnson trying to get clear in the middle of that grouping. Your pole sitter for the super late model race tomorrow night. Dawson Fletcher follows on behind as Johnson looks to take advantage of Cochran, who's stuck on the top side. Big checkup for Fletcher out of the corner as they move their way towards the back.
Well, and Johnson trying to recover from that in a longest line penalty that he suffered through, but he's doing a nice job. Gets through a lot of that traffic to move him up about 6 or 7 positions, give or take, since we dropped the green flag for that restart. And, you know, the one thing I'm surprised about, Justin, how many drivers are using that even 3rd or 4th lane that we're starting to move up to. It's a much wider racetrack than what we saw in the Pro Trucks.
Indeed, but it's still 2 of the drivers who are the ones to keep an eye on up towards the front. Sam King's in P3, Ryan Lapsevich, Michael Murray, your top 5, is Traden Lapsevich struggling right now to keep up. He's been trading times, yes, but the tire wear starting to settle in with 107 laps to go is running away. Compare that to Michael Murray. He's in the 18.8s. The leaders are still in the 18.5s.
They are, and it's hard to really know exactly if that's because of tire saving or if that's just because of the fact that these leaders know how to get around this racetrack. We both know that it's all about going fast, but saving as much tire in doing so, and sometimes drivers just don't have it figured out, so we'll just have to see if some of these guys that are running back here at 3rd or 4th, whether it's just pure tire saving and they're going to come charging through late, or they're just really struggling right now and just aren't as fast, and it won't really work around in their favor. We'll just have to see what the different philosophies are here. Is getting loose after he hit the apron in 3 and 4 was Ryden Lapsevich, but he's able to hold on for 4th.
One of the battles we're looking at again, Oliver Cordell, one of the top drivers in the Real World Legends car point standings at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway this year, trying to keep up with Dalton Collins for the battle for about 11th. Currently a few car lengths back. That train goes all the way back to where Ryden Lapsevich and company are. Separated by 3 seconds from P4 all the way back to 12.
A pretty close battle going on here on the back straightaway. Lapsevich is at the front of it, and now Michael Murray, who led Lapsevich by just a little earlier, almost looked like he wanted a piece of 4th for just a second, and now he's trying to hold off Dylan Bates, who has slowly worked his way forward through this field. Bates on the bottom side of the racetrack cannot get anything to work at the moment. He's going to run a little bit higher, try to get that run off. We'll see if he can do it off of 4.
Able to do so. A little bit dodgy and argy-bargy, though, with Brad Wright there. McWhorter was. And Brad Wright looking to still recover from a great qualifying run. But similar to your pole sitter for the Super Trucks race, that pole sitter had bad luck right from the jump. Brad Wright, -7 on the race. Had to already get damage repair done. He is struggling to get through this traffic. If anything, looks like he is still trying to find any chance to get positions right now. He is having a hard time trying to pass compared to some of the others, as the leaders are now in lap traffic.
They are as they approach it. Matthews trying his best, and this is what is going to come with these long green flag runs that we'll see as we work about a third of the way through this race. Is lap traffic, because of how long we're going. If we can get these long green flag runs, we're going to see lap traffic, and we're going to see it a lot. And those drivers that don't handle their tires so well, again, they're going to have a lot to fend off. They're going to keep getting progressively slower compared to our leaders as the race progresses on. So lap traffic, even more important than in a 50-lap race, more important than in a 50-lap race, is going to be awfully crucial to trying to win this one when you triple the length of the event.
Right at Lapsevich is really starting to fall off. Michael Murray, Joseph McWhorter, and Brad Wright are all hungry for positions, as McWhorter now clear of Murray. He's up inside the top 5. Brad Wright also following suit. They all passed by Austin Johnson and Dylan Bates a couple laps ago in the back part of that group. Now it looks like they are hungry to get away from 4th on back in this whole entire pack. Again, McWhorter is one of the first charging cars up in front of Brad Wright you're on board with for Driven Motorsports. It's Amica eSports and HPM that the car you're on board with is with. Of course, Amica eSports investing in HPM in recent weeks.
Well, and Austin Johnson is directly behind this battle as he has moved forward a little bit, as you see getting awfully close and racy there between the 12 machine, as it looks like McWhorter going to try to go on by Ryden Lapsevich. This is the battle for 4th as they're continuing to stack up behind them. Austin Johnson has caught in this pack as they're going to look to nearly go 3 wide here through the middle of 1 and 2, as sliding way up the racetrack was Lapsevich. Wright is going to get clear of Lapsevich and barely does so, and now Austin Johnson in the bottom. They make contact, but Johnson making his way by. He works it into 6. Brad Wright gets loose once again right in front of Johnson. Johnson's going to look to the bottom side to try to go by.
Everybody drifting around, but it's Joseph McWhorter, the first one through, and now he is 3/10 quicker than the cars behind. As a result, how long is the thing? They have lost 3 seconds to Sam King. They are 7 seconds behind your race leader with all these battling this, and you have to think with how aggressive they are and now finally single file, many of them may have just killed their tires.
It could be the case, and we'll just have to see. You see a lot more drivers kind of sliding that right rear these last couple of laps, and if this is a setup we heard from William Hill, these guys are going to be fighting loose, they're going to fight tight, they're going to fight everything. It's looking like at this part of the run they're starting to fight loose as they're 3 wide right now for about 7th. Ryden Lapsevich still continuing to fall on back as he's basically found that 3rd or 4th lane, but all grip seems to be gone for Ryden as he continues to fall on back. He's going to be drop kicked back to 10th now. Was just running in front of this long line of cars from about 4th to 10th, and he's now at the back of this train.
You compare that to his brother, the pace difference is immense. Full second. Caution is out. Sam King involved with lap traffic. TJ Rooker hugged the bottom line, and they ended up hitting each other.
Well, and TJ Rooker is the one who gets tagged in that. King was running in third and caught him from about half a straightaway back. It looked like Rooker was just trying to run low and get out of his way, and Sam King, he just picked the same lane to run in. You can see right here exactly what's going on, but I mean, we can get a better angle in 3 and 4 heading in there. I mean, King caught Rooker by a ton. You can see how much distance that King put on him very quickly, and you know, that's just one of the things I was talking about earlier, Justin. When you are lap traffic, when you're a part of the lead lap, you just don't know when those lap cars stay low if they're going to stay down there, if they're going to drift up off the corner. It's really hard to know where they're going to go. I'm just one of those that prefer them to go high, because you don't know if they're going to track out to the wall on exit or if they're going to stay low. Obviously, Rooker had the idea of going low on the front straightaway and surrendering that, but you just have no way to know that if you're in the sim. That's one thing about iRacing that I think even the drivers in the eNASCAR Pro Invitational Series were pretty aware of. There's no hand signals or anything like that you can throw in iRacing, so the communication isn't always the best, where even in real life you can just stick your hand out the window and kind of wave the guy by. You can't do that in the sim.
Race Control has just confirmed that all drivers who are lapped down will now be required to go to the high side. That, of course, partly the trigger. That is the driver's vote over the radio. They prefer everyone to stay to the top whenever they are being lapped, and you can see why. By the way, here at this racetrack, which is very bottom and middle line dominant so far tonight, your top 5 coming to 86 laps to go is Ryan Matthews, Trayden Lapcevich, Joseph McWhorter, and Brad Wright, along with Austin Johnson, Dylan Bates, Michael Murray, Dalton Collins, Ryan Lapcevich, Jake Sylvia, your top 10. And this groups everyone back up. The thing is, though, the top 2, I think, have the best tires out of everyone, with that whole gaggle of cars for 3rd and 4th on back just fighting so hard there that whole time, Blake.
Well, there's a lot of drivers fighting around there, but you had kind of a second group, and you know, it is a philosophy that can work depending on whether we get some yellow flags or not, and that's drivers like Dawson Fletcher and a couple more that were even a little further back than about the 10th running position. And you know, there is kind of a strategy of thinking about doing just enough to save your tires and stay on the lead lap and hope for an opportunity for a caution flag, because it'll bunch you back up. And then obviously once you get going from that restart forward, you can kind of push it and have a little more in your tires than the rest of the field. That's just the way that some iRacers have found to work with this tire model and in these pro late model races. So we'll have to see if a couple of drivers are implementing that strategy right now. They're not going to be competitive. Again, we're not even halfway through the race right now. So all these drivers that are starting to struggle and they're starting to slide the right rear now, it's going to be a long 95 laps remaining in this race for those guys.
84 laps.
85, yeah.
Coming to 84. By the way, for those curious, the railroad line would be the bottom line, hence why it was originally bottom line. But welcome to iRacing, where things can go backwards in some cases. That's one of them. Ryan Matthews, not looking to go backwards here. He'll be with Trayden Lapcevich on the front row, off and away. And Brad Wright is back to the front. He's up to P3 with a great launch into 1 and 2.
Great launch into 1 and 2 there. Is now Lapcevich going to go for the crossover on the bottom side. Matthews going to go in and shut the door on him. Lapcevich has to check up for it. That allows Brad Wright all the way back into 3rd. And now he has an opportunity to pull away with these race leaders.
Yeah, Brad Wright was one of the quicker cars in that gaggle before. McWhorter was also fairly quick. Couple drivers losing several spots to the back. Dawson Fletcher, Jake Sylvia, and several others were dicing it. They kept them clean, though, off of turn 2. The top 6 now single file off the corner into turn 1.
And one thing that I'm pretty impressed with is Joseph McWhorter, who was involved in that big wreck off of turn 2. You can see a lot of damage on the nose of his Dodge, but yet he is still running up here and able to be competitive. And obviously that damage doing a number to slow him down a little bit. It's obviously not helping that car by any stretch of the imagination, but a nice job for him nevertheless to keep marching on and even running up here in the top 4 and keeping a good pace with these race leaders.
And with front nose damage as well. 80 to go this time. Trey Lapsevich was getting ready to potentially pounce before. He's a little later on the brakes into 1 and 2. Matthews, though, a little quicker as a result on corner exit, pulling him by another 1/10 of a car length each straight. Lapsevich not able to close that detail back up, though, in 3 and 4. Lapsevich slides the tires going to the start and finish line.
You see that tire slide is going to get progressively worse as we start to approach the halfway point of this race. But now we just kind of flipped the script here. The last Pro Truck race, it was Matthews having to play catch up, having to chase Trayton Lapsevich. We flipped it this time. Matthews in control, and we'll have to wonder. We know Matthews felt like he had better tires and even confirmed that after they took the checkered flag in the last race. We'll have to see if now he's in control, he can get the tires and the track position over Trayton Lapsevich. But right now, these drivers have been nose to tail all night long, it seems.
Back starting to break up again a little bit with the tire wear differences. Again, 18.7s, the fast laps now for your top 2. The middle of the pack, for comparison's sakes, 18.9s to 19 flats, as slow as 19.3s in the field. Cross flags coming up next time by halfway, this time as we start lap 75.
We'll start it here. Dylan Bates, you're right on board with. He has slowly marched his way up into the 5th position. And, you know, like McWhorter has had to miss a couple of things. The nose of his race car is the exception, where that Bates machine is clean as the driven snow right now. Not too many scratches on that car. We'll have to see if that continues to be the case here. We noticed that with these mistakes that these drivers are going to make, and the tires are going to keep getting progressively worse as this run goes on. I know a couple of drivers, even right along with Robert Duria, just obviously sliding around in the back of the pack. He's struggling with his car. That's not going to get any better, and you know that's going to be part of the lap traffic that these guys are going to have to deal with. But pretty good battle going on the racetrack right now. 12th on back. You have a handful of cars that are all running nose to tail.
That's led by Sylvia at the moment. Dawson and Fletcher also in the grouping. Mark Humboldt gained a few spots tonight. He started at the very tail end of the field, and he's getting a little bit quicker each lap. He's not the quickest car on track, obviously, but he is gaining some pace. Also good battle starting to form up. Dylan Bates, he tried late braking hard to keep up with the back end of McWhorter and Wright. He's now falling back into the clutches of Dalton Collins and Austin Johnson.
And Johnson, somebody that is pretty familiar with this tire model, the way it works, and having to try and save as much as he can. But Dalton Collins, who has been pretty good in anything we've run these last couple of nights. A little loose off, but he is able to get a pretty decent exit right there, is Collins. But for the most part, single file throughout the field, and this is just a strategic game. You know, like chess, where do you want to put yourself in position here with your tire strategy, with your track position? It all kind of comes to a head, and you just have to decide what you want to do. But right now, Matthews and Lapsevich still continuing to pull away from the field. Everybody else is pretty even, but the 51 and the 22 are still making up ground on everybody else.
The thing is, though, you have to wonder here, if this gets towards a race situation, what'd you rather be? These two who are blistering up and quick, who are up to 3/10 quicker a lap, or do you want to be, say, Brad Wright, who's really cooling off the tires, or Dylan Bates with real-world experience, really saving the tires in the battle for 4th still?
I mean, it's hard to say, because really that saving strategy only works if eventually you get the benefit of having a caution flag thrown. Obviously, if it doesn't, you can save your tires all you want, but you know, you're just losing so much track position. You're going to have to eventually run them back down and pass them. So you can have better tires all you want. You can get 2-3 seconds back to make it all up, but it's not going to help all that much.
Mark Humble has just put his car in the tow truck, believe. He's pulled off the track of the 47. And he hit something a ton for him to have to pull off. His night may be done, at least for contention, unfortunately. Let's take a look at your replay. He actually flipped over in the middle of the track. This didn't bring out a caution, though, thankfully.
Wow, and yeah, he got some pretty heavy contact there into the outside wall, and that's going to be enough to do with there. You see the drivers driving around him, and you know, one of the benefits of iRacing, you get to hit that escape key and get off the track before race control is able to notice that a caution flag needed to be brought out. But unfortunately for Humble, probably going to take the tow. He may have to fix some damage, but obviously his odds of winning tonight are all thrown out the window.
Yeah, at least several laps lost. Lap traffic is ahead. This is getting very difficult now. Trading laps Mitchell lost about 6/10 because of the 0-0. They're about to reach him in this whole giggle here. And remember, they've been told stay high per driver preference here, and this can make it difficult for not just these leaders now, but for that whole battle for P3 that's now side by side. McWhorter side by side with Brad Wright. Brad Wright open up the bottom of the 0-0, massively slow on the top, just out of the way.
Well, he's able to get out of the way, but McWhorter's still trying to make up ground, utilizing the bottom side of the racetrack. Brad Wright running the middle, and I think I know what Wright's doing here. He's being, I wouldn't say defensive. He's not trying to hold off McWhorter all too much right there, but he's not going to change his pace to let the 13 by. He's going to run his pace where he thinks he can maximize both speed and saving the tires as much as possible while allowing the 13 to battle with him. And if he can get by, great. If not, obviously, you know, it's on the 13 to go down there and have to make the pass. So Wright just running his lane, and you know, if the 13 can go on by, he's more than welcome to if he's capable of doing so.
And the thing is, they're matching times now with your top runners. Yes, they're 3 seconds back, but they are starting to trade and match the times of your top 2. This might be where it starts to even. A couple drivers are also trying to still save, remember, in these groupings. Under 60 to go. Matthews leads, and now Dalton Collins now joining the fun here once again. Side by side now for third again as McWhorter gets a good run off the turn 2. Brad Wright up to the top side once again. He tries to squeeze, sliding the tires. It's McWhorter up the track. Brad Wright holds on to it at the stripe.
And McWhorter able to make up a little bit of ground. He's kind of been back at the rear quarter panel of the 48. He's starting to draw even on exit, but there you see that run off the top side. The momentum that Brad Wright is able to carry is just enough to be such a defensive line that 13 just cannot find a way around him. And of course, you know, that slows these two up, and it has brought everybody into the fold. Nearly a spin there as McWhorter got a little shot there from Bates. Collins is there, Johnson is there. That stack up and that 2-wide battle has brought everybody else back into this battle for third.
And hello, lap traffic. That is Duria up the track, and now he's put into the wall by Collins and Johnson. Duria's luck has been horrific this event. He's now going to be lapped by Sam King and Michael Murray. Everyone else in that fight now broken up for a little bit. The question is for how long?
We'll see how that breaks things up. Duria running 5 laps down. Mark Humble has made his way back onto the racetrack. He has also scored 5 laps down, so it took about 3 or 4 to get him towed back to where he could get back onto the racetrack. But still an intense battle going on here as Wright is able to pull away by just a couple of car lengths. Bates, Collins, and Johnson, that stack up kind of separated them for just a moment. Sam King is also doing a job to run these guys down because of all that commotion there at the lap traffic.
Well, they were evening out time, and then they lost 2 seconds with all that craziness. Sam King, as a result, catching back up. These cars now have also reeled back in Brad Wright. I think they are even pace, if not a little quicker, some of them. It's just the fact that, again, it's so difficult to pass once this tracker's rubbered in and you have these worn tires.
Well, you can even see visually on your screen another thing on iRacing that, again, this is the longest race that we've run here through our festivities this weekend. As you see a side-by-side battle there for McWhorter and Wright. Once again, the 13 finally trying to make that pass for third. They're both loose off the corner. They're going to be door-to-door as they head down the front straightaway. As you can look to the bottom on the apron, you can look to the top. You see the rubber and those marbles starting to simulate and build up much like they would in real life. And of course that groove where everybody's kind of running, the first two grooves, those are the ones where you kind of see not necessarily the marbles per se, but where all the grip is, where all the tire heat or the track heat is on this racing surface. But just one of the unique things about iRacing, you get up into that top groove, especially in these corners, you can get in those marbles, and it's not a fun place to be after about 150 laps of laying rubber down.
Or lap traffic for the race leaders. Now the gap is up to about 8 tenths for Ryan Matthews, and this traffic is reaching just about your fights up the track. Some of them include that grouping that includes Dawson, Fletcher, Cochran, and Jonathan Smith. Also, this group, that grouping we're following along with, are within range of getting lapped in the next few laps or so with how things are faring here. And this traffic is helping Matthews at this point, with Lapsevich really falling off, Trayden specifically.
He is, and there was almost some contact between McWhorter and Wright. Again, a battle for third that has not ceased for about the last 10 to 15 laps, and they nearly touch as McWhorter starting to run up a little bit more onto the door of Brad Wright. I don't think the 13 wants to run quite as low as he's been forced to for the majority of this battle, so he moved up a little bit, nearly made contact with the door of Brad Wright. Wright was able to continue to escape with it as Dylan Bates continues to just ride along and hope that, you know, just somebody prevails. If you're the 91, you can't really go to the third or fourth lane here to try to pass too many marbles up there. Nobody's worked in that groove. You're just hoping somebody prevails so that you can do something. When they're too wide, you're just kind of stuck. You're riding around.
Yeah, and Lapsevich could say the same here, Trayden specifically. His brother Ryden is also in the same boat, but even worse. Where Ryden Lapsevich is 4 to 5 tenths slower, and he's been struggling to wheel it around as well in that grouping for 11th we refer to. That is up for grabs to be lapped. The battle for third, side by side. Brad Wright still on the high side. McWhorter still wants to get clear. He's been trying to pass him for about 30 laps now. Nearly does it, nearly loops it. Into turn 3, Brad Wright nearly clear again. Now to the top is Dylan Bates to join the choo-choo train. Looking to take advantage of all this. Can't.
And Bates is just looking for an opportunity to pounce on when the pass is made or when a mistake is made by McWhorter. As you see Wright, he gets loose as they chased around the lap traffic, the 00. Bates is going to look to the bottom, almost 3 wide as they barreled off into 3 and 4. The 13 still going to the bottom side of the racetrack, and the 91 still looking for any opening he can find, any just mistake that the 13 can make. He's going to pounce on it, and once again they're just running nose to tail. Again, this has been an insane battle between Wright and McWhorter, and I think McWhorter is just a little faster. He just can't get around him.
Dalton Collins hit the marbles in 3 and 4 on the bottom apron, lost a spot in the back of the group. Here comes the run again for third. Again, McWhorter trying to give a pinch. Brad Wright not giving up an inch though. More lap traffic ahead as again Wright nearly clear. Bates nearly made it side by side for 4th, couldn't get there. Back to 1 and 2 they go. Everyone now starting to move higher and higher up the track.
Loss of rear grip will do that as they try and search around and use the momentum. Oh, getting a shot there is McWhorter from Dylan Bates. He's going to have to save that car, but now Bates has the opportunity to move into 4th. I think he's had just about enough of this battle. He now moves up, almost contact into the door of the 13. They're going to be 3 wide with the lap traffic. Oh, they're going to wreck into him.
Mark Humble trying to stay to the wall. They collide, trying to avoid the lap traffic. We're back under yellow. It's Dalton Collins also involved. Everyone checking up as that was coming with the lap traffic. Wow.
And unfortunately that's just a case of these two drivers were leaning on each other. There wasn't a lot of room for error. And of course, the 47 of Mark Humble is just riding on by. Obviously is getting out of the way, exactly what you would want from the lap car. But you can see the shot. The 91 gives the 13 on corner entry and 3. Looks to the bottom here to try to get by, pushes up the track just a little bit. They're leaning on each other's doors, and the 91 just pushes up on exit, and there's a car there in the third lane. They get tagged together. It's almost like they kind of glued together off the corner, and unfortunately, instead of just running the 13 in the wall, it collects Mark Humble as well, and so that kind of becomes a 3-car, almost a 4-car wreck as Austin Johnson is able to make his way by some McWhorter. Oh, and big damage for Dalton Collins as well. He's going to plow right into this. He saw an opening and it just closed right at the last second. Nothing that he could do there. So big damage for the 95 as he's on pit road. I believe the 47 also having to take repairs as well. And now we get to punch back up. Anybody who is saving tires, this is their chance to pounce here with under 50 laps to go. And Austin Johnson, man, he just squeaked on by that. And I guess Brad Wright holding off McWhorter for that long ended up paying off.
For obvious reasons, those two end of longest line penalties. And understand the reasoning, of course. Give the lap car traffic, or give the lap car space, so you don't squeeze them into the fence. But there was 2 car lanes we've seen on that last shot of between them. Just a weird one there, Blake, and almost too much space as Traden Lapsevich has pulled off the track. Traden Lapsevich has pulled his car into the pit lane. Something happened with one of your race leaders, possibly, as he, I think, may have came down to top off on gas. Blake.
Very interesting. I don't think there was any damage that he was messing with, but of course, Justin, you got to think, I'm pretty sure that we are good to go on fuel to the end of this race. Wow. Oh, they're wrecking! They're wrecking on pit road. Somebody runs into the barrels here on entry. It was Oliver Cordell. He cuts across Bates' nose, and no, it was Sam King, rather. Sam King gets wrecked under caution. He tried to pit at the last second.
What in the world was he thinking? He was not even close to making it there. Take a look at this. He just made a beeline for the barrels and drove it like Bates wasn't even there.
And what a turn of events that was, as King was on the lead lap. And of course, Dylan Bates, he's just an innocent bystander. He's rolling through there onto pit road, but King is well outside the groove. You think you want to get down to the apron to just add fuel here, as it looks like a lot of drivers, that's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to add fuel. But wow, yeah, I mean, Bates just is sitting there, and King cuts across like he's not there. So wow, what a strange turn that is. I don't think I expected to see that, Justin, but controversy on pit road here is Sam King was just unaware that the 91 was down there, makes a bonsai move at the last second. And I mean, that's pretty significant damage for both of those drivers.
32 laps to go, and now another interesting wrinkle. Brad Wright had already topped off, remember, for some of the incidents, so he may be good. We're off and away as Ryan Matthews, the first driver who is not pit, Austin Johnson, Michael Murray, Jake Sylvia, Dawson Fletcher, Dylan Bates, Carden Cochran have all also not topped off at any point of the night. Already your race leader up by 3 car lengths off of turn 4.
And Matthews is able to scurry away. And Lapsevich, you mentioned when he came down pit road and topped off, he was one of the first to do that. So got to pass a couple of people that tried the next couple of laps. But it looks like Matthews holding strong here. But Brad Wright, we saw him defend for third. Does he have the tires to run down Matthews? It looks like he has some good turn through the center of the corner in that 48 machine. 30 laps to go. And he is running times that are very on par with Ryan Matthews.
Remember, we talked about him saving a little bit. Of course, at the same time, he had to hold off McWhorter. McWhorter no longer a factor in the 11th spot for the time being, though, as they move their way down the front straightaway. 29 to go, coming at 28 the next time by. Now using a bit of the middle line this time, back to the bottom line in 1 and 2.
And again, Wright not doing a whole lot to run him down just yet, but Ryan Matthews certainly isn't driving away at this point. But the top two starting to make up some ground on the rest of the field. But you see that last time by Wright quicker, but just enough to keep pace with Ryan Matthews. You see that interval is staying around about 0.3 of a second, but it's not going away. So obviously, whatever Brad Wright had in mind, he has saved some tires on that 48 machine, and it looks like he is going to be awfully strong for these last 25 laps or so.
For reference sake as well, Trey Lapsevich is in the battle for 5th. You see that 3 wide out of turn 2, back to 2 wide. Traden Lapsevich already up to the top 5, and he's coming in quick. He wants his spots back.
He does. He is quickly marching through the field, and you'd have to think that maybe with as hard as he was running, not sure if there's still some tires left on his Legacy Esports Camry. He's rolling through here on Michael Murray, and it looks like he's pretty, there's still a lot of turn for him. There's still a lot of roll through the center of the corner. He's able to do that, move on by, and he's going to go to 4th, but Murray's going to give him a tap. What a save there from Lapsevich. Is now Murray is in it. They have a check up here. Jake Sylvia looking to pounce as well.
Able to hold on is Traden Lapsevich. He was only about 1/10 or so off your race leader's pace. Dawson Fletcher is at the back end of this train, forced to check up. Bates now might have a shot to dive as Murray really squirrely. Both of them held up. Now Traden Lapsevich is gone by 0.4 of a second through 3 and 4 as everyone nose to tail. That's 4, 5, 6 cars deep for that line.
And they're all slowing each other up. Oh, there's contact. Michael Murray and it looks like the 78 of Jake Sylvia get together, and Sylvia's going to lose about 2 to 3 spots here trying to collect his race car back up. A little contact with the 114 put him on the apron in 1 and 2. He's able to save it, but he'll be drop kicked back to 8th. So move Bates and Fletcher up a spot each as they're trying to pounce on Michael Murray.
Coming up toward 21 laps to go, and now Brad Wright is starting to fall off. Austin Johnson is keeping the same pace, though, to Wright. Curious how Johnson tries to play this to try and get a top 2 run. One of his best races of the weekend so far. He has 1 top 5 and qualified in the top 5 for the Super Late Model race for tomorrow.
And it's going to be really interesting, Justin, to see how many drivers who were awfully fast in qualifying tonight, how that transfers over. Again, here in iRacing, of course, despite the weight penalties and the different setup and everything that these guys are running tonight, obviously it's not the same race car as what they're going to run tomorrow, running about 3 or 4 seconds quicker in the super late model as far as iRacing is concerned, that doesn't have weight or extra weight added to recreate the pro late model class that you see at the Nashville Fairgrounds. But it'll be interesting to see a lot of these front runners if that same kind of strategy and the way they're driving these cars translates really well to tomorrow night. We'll have to see.
Side by side, by the way, again for P5. Dawson Fletcher ripping that away now from Michael Murray in turn 1. Jake Sylvia also trying to pass by that white 114, a little bit squirrely, trying to keep it off the fence. Some of these cars drifting a little bit loose. Some of them are starting to plow tight. It was talked about by William Hale, who's in race control tonight, that these cars can get tight at the end of the run. We're starting to see that some of these cars are getting so tight, they're getting loose.
Well, and I think, Justin, that may be part of why these drivers are coming down for fuel. I don't think it's necessarily a thing where they think they need to make it to the end or they don't have enough laps to go the full 150-lap distance. I think it may be just a case where, obviously, in real life, you can adjust on the setup, but here in iRacing fixed setup, you can't make in-race adjustments like you can in real life. I think maybe it's just a question of these guys trying to add fuel to give the car some more turn. Obviously, you add fuel, it's going to loosen up the car a little bit. Well, guess what? In iRacing, it does that as well. So perhaps this was just kind of a counter for some of these drivers to try and loosen up the race car to try and tighten it up.
For Traden Lapsevich, he'll need some luck. Every other car who tried that is still 10th on back, by the way. Brad Wright and Austin Johnson, you see, have now also closed the gap down to 4/10. They did deal with a little traffic here and there, but for the most part, the pace has started to fall off a little bit for Matthews here and there, where he's lost a 10th or 2. The drivers behind have been able to close up the gap. Then Matthews, in some cases, grows it back up. 13 to go. He just did that where he ran at 18.9. The drivers behind 19 flats.
And what a job that both these top three have done as Johnson starting to run down Matthews. 18.9, as you mentioned, for Matthews that last time. Every time it seems like Wright and Johnson are starting to gain a little bit of ground, Matthews is able to just pull away ever so slightly to try and increase his lead. Big slip up here from Wright, though. Johnson has the opportunity to pounce for second.
Side by side, 11 laps to go. They are reeling back in Robert Duria as well. That could be a pick used by these cars. Good run off the corner, though, for Wright. Trouble in turn 3. Michael Murray's around in the 114 car. He's now crashed off the corner. No caution yet. Now it's out as he's stuck alongside the inside wall, and this changes everything with under 10 laps to go.
And Michael Murray, who was running in 8th, that looked like what was kind of a cell spin. I think he was trying to get to the bottom to try and get onto pit road. And it looks like, honestly, Justin, just a mischief right here. Obviously, the car was getting loose and getting onto pit road, but I think that's just something where he shifted down into second and it just immediately kind of wheel hops and spins the car out.
Not only that, apparently the 114 might have ran out of fuel. So the fuel mileage is going to be tight now. And that has to be concerning if you just heard that on the radio. If you are Ryan Matthews, Austin Johnson, Dawson Fletcher, Jake Silvio, Dylan Bates, or Cardin Cochran.
Well, and it helps a lot of these drivers that actually, yeah, you see they're going on the apron through 1 and 2, so they're trying to save all the fuel they can. So who would have thought that here in a 150-lap race they're thinking about fuel? I've heard from a couple of drivers that I think communicating back and forth that it's really a case that, you know, shifting perhaps is coming into play here slightly towards the end of the run, and because of that shifting, they're obviously using more fuel, and you see these drivers are all running the apron through the turns trying to save all they can. So certainly enough, the fuel mileage situation here is going to make it where it's awfully close.
8 to go, coming to 7. This is going to be tight. Some of the drivers are reporting they are good by about maybe 2 laps to spare, and that's about it.
Well, again, it's very interesting because, you know, obviously more yellow flags helps these drivers. If they didn't get this yellow, who knows if everybody was going to be able to make it to the end. If they get another yellow flag, is that going to help these drivers? Obviously that's going to help these drivers make it to the end on fuel. So, oh boy, big implications here. You don't often see this, but you know, here in iRacing sometimes you'll get that. And again, with the shifting, you're obviously running higher RPMs through the corners. So I think that's just something that these drivers weren't expecting when they ran 150 laps. You know, they look down at their fuel. They have things that can calculate the fuel for them that probably tell them they're good to go, but with the shifting, it probably doesn't take that into account.
This is going to be difficult. And if Trey Lapsevich has what I think may happen, might have a shot here still because of that, because he was still dead even on pace, and he doesn't have to be concerned, to say the least. 6 to go. Ryan Matthews is your race leader, the Mechanicsville, Virginia-based driver, looking to hold on after leading a majority of the night. He gets the 1 to go signal as we'll restart with 5 to go. Brad Wright will start to his outside. The HBM driver and Pro Series competitor for 2020 will look to try and rip it away. Austin Johnson, looking for the upset, has been a contender floating around the top 5 throughout the weekend. He looks for his best finish yet. While Trayden Lapsevich looks to recover from having to pit earlier and looks to try and get the lead back after starting up at the front early in this one. Drivers all set to go. 5 laps to go for the Pro Late Models for the All-American eSports 400. We're back and away. Matthews off and away. He's off by a car length and clear. Brad Wright trying to hug the outside. Trayden Lapsevich backing it up into 1 and 2.
And Lapsevich trying to do all he can to run on the top side. Brad Wright nearly scrapes the outside wall as they head off at 2, but Matthews enjoys about a car length lead. Wright trying to get the drive off the corner, but still strong up front is Ryan Matthews. 4 to go.
Pushing up the track is Matthews now. Brad Wright trying to go for the run. Third on back, losing time. The top two are off and away by half a second. Matthews having to hold off. Brad Wright, a hard charge on the brakes. 3 to go.
And will he be able to hang on? Brad Wright and Matthews both sliding. Matthews up the track. Oh, Lapsevich is going to get turned. Caution here in the middle of 1 and 2. Trayden Lapsevich, who was so strong all night. And Austin Johnson looks like he and the 32 get together. Lapsevich, who was once again so dominant on the night, hit earlier on for fuel, lost the track position, and Austin Johnson looks like he tangles with another here in 1 and 2. That'll bring out the caution, and oh boy, does this change everything, because we have green white checkers in effect and fuel mileage. So oh man, is this going to shake things up.
A rough break in the battle for third between Lapsevich and Johnson. Johnson pushing hard up the track. Carter Cochran just avoided all of that. In the end, though, it's just those two who end up getting the longest line penalties and getting the worst out of it. Now, deep breath time, because this is about to get insane.
It is, because you don't know if these guys are going to be able to make it on fuel. Every ensuing caution obviously makes it worse because they have to go just a little bit longer. So are these drivers who some were saying they were about a lap or two good to the end? Does this change that? And again, just all this pit strategy, everything just coming to a head here. We'll have to see who's able to make it to the end. I don't think it's as much a question of tires now. It's just who has enough fuel. Obviously, a lot of drivers have come down and topped off, but a lot of our front runners, they haven't done so yet.
Yeah, most of your drivers are topped off outside of Brad Wright, have not even made it to the top 6 yet. Remember, Wright had topped off when he had trouble early on, so at the very least, Brad Wright had at least an idea of what could have been happening and wanted to at least adjust to that, and he might be the biggest genius now in the room.
He just might be, but that's the one thing about this, Justin, with this strategy playing in and the potential for 1 of 3 green-white checkered attempts to take place. It just becomes a guessing game at this point, and hope that you hit the lottery correct on whether there's just going to be one and you stay out, or obviously if we get another green-white checkered, it's going to make it much harder for you to make it to the end. So at this point, you're just hoping that whatever you choose is the way it goes. We still only have 11 cars on the lead lap, so you can afford to come down, top off, and not lose a ton. But again, this is what we've heard from many of these drivers. This is just for show. This is, a kind of a win or nothing style of event. We're not running for points here. We're just running for fun and to try and see who can win this race. So I think a lot of these drivers are going to kind of throw caution to the wind, and maybe a way that they wouldn't, just to try and end up in victory lane.
Keep in mind, some of the major sponsors, some of the team managers, keeping an eye on these drivers as well. Again, 3 green-white checkered attempts when we get back rolling. If they get the white flag, the race is official. In turn, if there's an incident during the white flag, they will not be able to trigger the yellow. If there is a caution triggered before they take the white, the race will have a second green-white checkered attempt. Same will take place if there's a second caution under the second GWC on the first lap of the restart. If they have a third caution on the first lap of the GWC, they'll in turn finish under yellow. It's Matthews and Wright in row 1, Fletcher and Sylvia row 2, Bates and Cochran row 3, Wright and Lapsevich, Oliver Cornell, your top 8. This could go to anybody as Matthews off and away. Great launch for him. Wright caught sleeping.
Wright trying to rebound, though. He's got the top side. He's got the run through 1 and 2. It looks like Matthews going to have to block just a little bit. They're a car length away, and they're wrecking behind them as, oh, here comes another caution. We're going to try to get a second attempt, as it was the 71 and Jake Sylvia who got together on the back straightaway. Carden Cochran is in it as well. I believe even Trayden Lapsevich, he got another nice ding in the door from that one. But, oh, man, this just brings the fuel mileage into it even more.
Let's take a look at the battle for third. Sylvia hit the wall, but it's Fletcher who gets the worst of it.
He does. Sylvia drove it off the wall and unfortunately gets into the 71. You see Cochran, he's climbing the fence nearly in 3 and 4. And look at the restart here. Obviously a great jump for Ryan Matthews, not so much for Brad Wright there on the front row. Wright's able to get down and clear this second row, but you'll watch it on board from Dawson Fletcher's point of view. Gets off at 2 here. You're going to see Sylvia for just a moment on the high side. Actually, you don't really see it at all. Really just out of nowhere comes off, and unfortunately for the 71, there was just absolutely nowhere for him to go.
The perfect analogy I've heard for that is you're going, and then you're wrecked. Fortunately for Fletcher, that's the case. Lapsevich as mentioned with contact. Carden Cochran also with significant repairs being done in the pit lane after he rode the wall. Take a look at this.
It's going to be a pretty violent onboard shot. You see he gets tagged right there. He'll get tagged by some more traffic. Go, and there he goes with a nice little skip, at least from the right side, almost over the wall. He at least touches the top of it, but a wild ride there for Cochran through that incident.
He's at the very least lost a lap. And now, that really makes things crazy. If we get a third GWC, this may be very tight for Matthews and the rest of the drivers who have yet to pit, who are not demolished at the moment. Because Ryden Lapsevich and Oliver Cordell are now up at the front, and they had topped off. Just about everyone else who was in the non-top off group were just involved in that crash. This is about to get pretty darn crazy because the only drivers in the top 6 who are in that ballpark of non-top offs are Matthews and Bates.
Oh man, Justin, with all the craziness that we've seen these last couple of nights, who knew that we were going to go a couple laps past the scheduled distance? Fuel mileage was going to come into play. This has been one wild night, and you know, I know this isn't virtual form. Some things are different, yet they're the same. So if you haven't already, I can't imagine that next weekend is going to have any less craziness.
This may come down to the 10th of the gallon at this rate. But now this is going, and he's really backing it down, coming to the 1 to go signal. There were 9 cars running on track. I repeat, 9 cars running on track who are on the lead lap. Matthews, Wright, Bates, Cordell, Ryden and Trayden Lapsevich, Austin Johnson, Joseph McWhorter, Sylvia. This could be any one of them at this time. Field and control of the McConey Setup Shop sponsor machine of Ryan Matthews. Brad Wright starts to the outside. Bates and Cordell in row 2. Green flag. 2 laps to go again. Great launch for Wright.
And will we be able to make it all the way back around? We'll have to see. Right on the top side, though, what a run he gets. He has the lead off at 2. He gets into the wall. They're now side by side as they head into 3 and 4. If they get to the white, we'll take it to the checkered flag. It looks like they're going to do it. Oh, they touch.
They touch. Back to turn 1. Final lap from Nashville. Here comes Brad Wright, forced to check up hard. Ryan Matthews looks to run away. Spin behind with Ryan Lapsevich. Huge slam. Brad Wright with the bumper. He hits him again. He spins Matthews. Here comes Dylan Bates. Dylan Bates takes the checker flag. He wins it at Nashville for the Pro Late Models and the All-American eSports 400. Review and start are both under review.
And I got to say, Justin, I don't think that was anything that Brad Wright meant to do, but Ryan Matthews was out of gas. He was sputtering on the back straightaway. It's why he motioned low, and that's why Wright was able to get to him so quickly. And you see right there, he spins around, and Dylan Bates, through all the chaos, is somehow able to maneuver his way around. Again, this is all unofficial. We'll get some words from race control in a moment, but you see what was an incredible battle here on the white flag lap. You see them make contact into 1, but you see Matthews, he has the drive off, and all of a sudden he slows up. That's because of the fuel. Wright didn't anticipate that, so he gives him 1 shot, 2 shots, and unfortunately gets kind of wrapped up in everything. And Dylan Bates on the high side somehow able to escape all of that, and he is your unofficial winner in the Pro Late Models.
and he's still trying to burn it down. 1 lap led this entire weekend, and it's Dylan Bates who comes away unofficially with the checkered flag. What a way to end this one. He was the only air car left in the top 10 who didn't top off. Let's take a look at the unofficial results, with Trayden Lapcevich and Austin Johnson rounding out the unofficial top 3 in what was a crazy finish. Brad Wright, Oliver Cordell, Ryan Matthews, Jake Sylvia, Joseph McWhorter, Ryan Lapcevich all finished on the lead lap. Robert Duria finished 6 laps down, rounding out your top 10, and my goodness, the craziest finish.
It certainly was. Carden Cochran finishes up in 11th. 12th goes to Dawson Fletcher. 13th finishing position goes to Michael Murray. And again, all of these drivers out of the event because of accidents. 14th to Sam King after that wreck under caution, trying to get onto pit road. 15th goes to Jonathan Smith. 16th goes to Dalton Collins. 17th was Mark Humble. 18th was TJ Rooker. 19th was Josh Kosick, and 20th was Tommy Johnson, who only saw a couple of laps before he went and put his car on the trailer. But oh my goodness, Justin, what a turn of events there on that last lap. We didn't know if fuel was going to be a part of it, but somehow it is. And unfortunately, it works against Ryan Matthews, who, after taking the race lead from Trayden Lapcevich, led pretty much the entire way through. And then Brad Wright, who looked like he was awfully strong all night. He gets into the back of him, can't get around the car, who he didn't know was out of gas, and Dylan Bates is right there to steal it away.
Drivers were reporting in tire percentages, tires as low as 23% on the right rear. It is confirmed. It is Dylan Bates who wins after leading just 1 lap after a crazy final lap for the Pro Late Models for the All-American eSports 400. Dylan, how does it feel to win after a crazy one?
What a surprise, man. I wasn't even sure that I won when I crossed the line with all the wrecking that was going on, but that was wild. That was a lot of fun. I don't know how we managed to stay up there at the front, but that was awesome.
First of all, what was going through your mind when you realized, oh, we're going to be tight on gas here, and then the gas comes into play to decide the final corner?
Well, what's funny is, like, I wasn't even thinking about fuel, and then I heard about some guys saving about with 20 to go, or I guess it was when Trayton pit. So I started thinking about it when Trayton pit, and that last green white checkered, I checked my fuel and noticed that I had less than a gallon remaining, so I was clutching it and saving fuel into that last yellow. If we had one more green white checkered, I wouldn't have made it. So I don't know, that wasn't really part of my strategy. I was just burning all the fuel I could to get around them.
And this is redemption too, where you set the pole time in the super trucks, where you spun in that race and couldn't make it to the back of the front cover. Does this feel like redemption to you?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that truck deal was an embarrassing moment, but I knew that I had to get in control of that race early, so I tried to slide up in front of him and ended up sliding around. But yeah, this definitely feels like redemption.
Still one more event on the cards. It's the Super Late Models for 250 laps tomorrow night. Your thoughts on that one after you look to carry momentum from a crazy finish?
Yeah, I'm really excited about that one. I'm not real happy with where we qualified at, but we qualified early in the going because I registered late. But we'll start. I think we're starting 12th, so that's a good spot for us to tuck in and ride. Which it's 250 laps, so strategy is going to play into it as well. So as long as we can keep our nose clean and just kind of be up in the top 5 there with 50 to go, I think we'll be okay. So I'm really looking forward to that one.
Who do you want to thank for making this all possible for you to make it to victory lane tonight?
Well, first and foremost, on the eSports side, I got to thank 09 Motorsports and the whole team over there, Daniel Pope, Alex McCollum, Will Dravicki, and all my other buddies over there. And on the real life side, I got to thank Joe Ross and RNS Automotive, John Christ Motorsports, and WB3 Motorsports for all they do.
Congratulations on the victory of what has been now the craziest finish of the week. Congrats.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Dylan Bates, he led only 1 lap, but that's enough for him to take the checkered flag in this one. Trayden Lapcevich comes home in P2 again, tying his worst finish of the week so far. He's with Blake McCandless after he just barely made it through the carnage.
Well, Traden, we saw you came down and topped off a little earlier than a lot of these race leaders, lost some track position. You end up in a tangle with Austin Johnson, and just somehow through all that, you end up getting a second place out of it. What was the craziness like out of your windshield through the end of this one?
I noticed early that I couldn't make it to the end on fuel for sure, so I decided to come down early because I figured if they're all going to run out, I want to be the first one to get fuel. So made the right call there, but then I just got in a tangle with the 21 car, and that sent me back. I think we would have been in a really good position had that not happened, but still made it through the mess at the end there. I was just kind of guessing on where to go, and when all the smoke cleared, we were in the right position to still finish second.
Still able to finish up front, but again, we talked about it last night. You're dominant on the quarter mile tracks. It obviously translates over here to the 5th, 8th. What is it about this racetrack that really just caters to your driving style?
I think a lot of it has to do with how many lines we can run. You saw in the pro truck race too. I was trying a new line like every lap, and I find one that works for me, and I stick to it.
Well, really being able to find that at the right time, we know is very crucial. But I know you're getting used to this. I'll throw the mic one more time. Get anybody shout out that needs it that you haven't gotten the last 4 or 5 times or so you've been up here.
Just BD, Legs, eSport, Butt Kicker, Bruzy, GH Graphics Design, and then just everyone for putting this on. A lot of fun. Can't wait for the big one tomorrow.
I was about to say congratulations tonight, second place, and obviously big show is tomorrow night, and we'll obviously look forward to if you can take home that trophy tomorrow night, perhaps the biggest one of the weekend. So we'll go ahead and let you get rested up and prepared for that one.
Thank you.
All right, that's Traden Lapsevich, a name you've been very familiar with, and we're going to catch up with one more driver before we sign off tonight. Austin Johnson has caught up with Justin Prince. He brings it home third.
Yes, indeed. And what a finish to this one. Austin, you survived a crazy run. Yes, you had some tangles, of course, but you come away with the podium. Your best finish of the weekend. How are you feeling? Austin Johnson, do you have a cup?
Sorry about that. I don't know. I mean, after getting into a lot of people over the week, I hate for all the guys that I got into, like earlier 13, and especially with Trayton there at the end. I was really feeling the pressure because he was kind of catching me there before we had that caution. So I was just trying to stay ahead of him, but I knew he was going to be fast, but got into one a little hot. But somehow we still got second and third after that crazy last lap.
Yeah, what was your situation like on that before all the carnage started happening for you and that, because just about everybody was tight on fuel?
I, for some reason, had a lot better fuel than everyone else. I was talking to my teammate. He had like 0.5 less gallons than me. I guess I was saving without me even knowing it, and I was puzzled why Trayton pitted, but he was just so fast he could still get up to second.
Still one more race on the cards. Again, super late models tomorrow. Your opinions and thoughts on that one as you look to try and come away with the victory there, the biggest part of the weekend.
I'm confident, kind of. I don't think I'll be able to win Trayton, and there's a lot of fast guys in there, but we're qualified 5th, which is a lot better than I ever expected, and so we'll try to keep it in the top 5, top 10, and not get wrecked.
Well, if you mentioned a team there, anyone you want to thank for your run tonight then?
Well, I was talking to Jake and his spotter Hector, and Johnson Graphics on the hood, and William for throwing this whole event on. It's a lot of fun, especially last night too.
Congratulations on the run tonight, Austin.
Thank you.
Austin Johnson rounding out the top 2, 3. I'd like to thank him, Traden Lapsevich, and Dylan Bates. Take the time to speak with us during post-race coverage. You're on Podium eSports. And Blake, I don't think we had that in our expectations on how this night would fare. Your leader running out of fuel after dominating much of the night, having massive pileups and 2 green-white checkers. That was not in the cards or even on the bingo sheet, I believe.
No, I don't think so, but it makes me really excited for the race tomorrow night. Obviously, a little bit longer that we'll be going tomorrow night, but it's going to be really, really exciting to see what these guys can do if these late models, if this is the type of show that they can put on. Obviously, pro late models will get the super lates tomorrow for the big big daddy of them all, I guess, of the weekend. I'm looking forward to it because this race had everything. It had long green flag runs, close side-by-side racing, and as always, just an unbelievable finish. So hopefully we're treated to the same thing tomorrow night. I'm really looking forward to the running of the All-American eSports 400.
Especially for the super late models. As talked about, William Hale mentioned this, that in the real world, it's broken down where the pro late models run 100 laps, then the super late models 300 laps. The 150 laps tonight just took place for the pros. Now the supers. Get ready to dial it up tomorrow night for 250 laps here at the virtual Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Again, coverage will start at approximately 8 p.m. Eastern Time for the feature. Again, 250 laps are on the docket to see who can come away with the victory. Be sure to tune in. I'd like to thank our sponsors once again. Southeastern Sim Racing Association, the sanctioning body for this event. McConey Setup Shop, the official setup provider of the All-American eSports 400, and Paradigm Racing. For the days of worrying about the team's marketing are over, where they take care of everything from sponsorship proposals to race day photography and social media, allowing drivers to focus on getting to victory lane. For more info there, go to ParadigmOnline.net today. And also don't forget, the Railroad All-American 400 takes place next weekend on October 30th, October 31st, and November the 1st. For more info, including for tickets, go to NashvilleFairgroundsSpeedway.racing. Look for the track on Facebook at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway on Facebook, and follow them on Twitter at Race Fairgrounds today. But it's time to say goodbye after a wild night of racing. Night 2 is in the books. For my broadcast partner tonight, Blake McCandless, for James Pike, Cisco Skinner Music, Gary Sexton, John Theodore at Podium Esports, and for producer Ryan Bauer, I'm Justin Prince. Thank you so much for watching tonight's action. Have a wonderful rest of your Saturday. We'll see you tomorrow night for the 250 lap super late model feature.
So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made of. Get in the game, your moment of fame, show them what you made of. It's time that we stand up. It's time that we man up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up. My time, nothing can keep me from reaching the top. This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to throw down. It's time for the showdown. I'm ready to rise, don't be surprised, I'll take on the world now. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We're reaching the top, we're reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We're reaching the top, we're reaching the top. track up. I'll never go back down. Hand over my heart,